Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to get you styled up with Stitch Fix. Shopping's hard. It's hard. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist, though, who understands your style, your size, your budget, and they do all the shopping for you.
Wow.
This is excellent. Shopping, I'm telling you, shopping and figure out your style, it's overwhelming. Let somebody help you when it comes to getting dressed. We don't know what we're doing, so we let Stitch Fix help us out. A Stitch Fix stylist there. They know what works on us. We get the prices that make us look really good, and it feels good. You get some confidence boost walking around knowing that you're looking decent here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we just give the stylist our sizes, style, budget preferences. We order boxes when we want, how we want, no subscription or any of that required. And they send called Just For Me pieces as well. Like, maybe you'd like this, and it's awesome. Outfit recommendations, styling tips. You keep what you love, you send back the rest. It's super easy.
Yep.
You can do it, and we are doing it because it's excellent. Personal styling for everyone. Get started today at stitchfix.com/STM. That's stitchfix.com/STM.
Now back to the show.
Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show and tell you about Noom. Has Noom helped you? I believe it has.
Oh, that's got an app. You can do tracking. It's terrific.
It does. And Noom builds personal plans that can meet individual needs. That's the thing. Takes into account any dietary restrictions, medical issues, other personal needs. That helps build a plan that works for you. And yes, so I know that you've had your own personalized program here that you've been working on. And
it's weight loss This is weight loss results that last. They stick around because you get yourself into a lifestyle change. That's what matters.
That's mainly it. You can't just say, I'm going to cut that out for a month and then go back to it. That's not what it is. So I'm glad it's helping you. That's great. And it really does. I like the psychology and biology-based approach here. Yeah. Noom Weight uses psychology. That's why they say losing weight starts with your brain, but it also takes into account your unique biological factors, Jimmy. All of your multitude flora and fauna that goes on inside of you there.
Sure. Yeah.
Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com, Noom.com here. Based on 3.5-year study of actively engaged Noom users with minimum starting BMI of 25. Individual results may vary. Visit our website for more information.
Welch's can't make everything make sense. Like why your mom still listens to the radio or what she meant when she sent that emoji. But a zero sugar drink that's still full of fruit flavor, we made that make sense. And strawberry, passion fruit, Concord grape, and more. You gotta sip it to get it. New Welch's Zero Sugar. Let's fruit stuff up.
This week, in Hooksett, New Hampshire, what seems like a simple accident could be linked to the murder of the dead man's mother and the killings of 2 young women 20 years earlier. Welcome to Small Town Murder. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Small Town Murder.
Yay!
Yay indeed, Jimmy. Yay indeed. My name is James Petrogallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Jimmy Wissman.
Thank you, folks, so much for joining us today. We have quite the show for you. This one it's deep. It's deep. Sure. It's got layers. There's murder upon murder stacked upon a pile of murder. It's a lot of murder. So we'll get into all of that very quickly. First of all, thanks for everything. Thanks for your reviews. They help a lot. Whatever app you're listening on, give 5 stars. It does help. Head over to shutupandgivememurder.com for all of your small town murder and crime and sports needs, all of your merchandise, and especially tickets to live shows.
Oh, yes.
Oh, baby. September the 10th, we're at the Pabst in Milwaukee. It's getting close to sold out. Going to be our biggest show ever. Milwaukee, represent and show the country that you can put together the biggest small town murder show ever. Not Chicago, not Boston. No, none of that. Not Portland. No, not Minneapolis. We're talking Milwaukee. So do that. We are excited for that. Also, get your tickets for Florida. We are in Tampa for 2 nights in September, or 1 night in Tampa. 2 shows, 1 night, and then we're in Orlando as well the next night. So for 2 shows. So get your tickets to those as well and everything. And also, I saw a couple of tickets opened up I think in that Austin, Texas show in November. That's been sold out for years, and I saw a few opened up. So if you're looking to get in that show, do it now. Get there. That's shutupandgivememurder.com. Also, you want to have Patreon.
Yeah, you do.
Patreon.com/crime and sports is where you get all the bonus stuff, and you're going to get a ton of bonus stuff for $5 or more, whatever, every month. You can get, first of all, 2 new shows every 2 weeks. Bonus, at least 4 shows a month. We're going to talk about any crime and sports shows, any small town murder shows. This week, what you're going to get for crime and sports, we're going to talk about, well, just a couple of weird scandals, mainly the Brett Favre dick pic scandal. We'll talk about his freckled pecker a bit. And a couple other weird sports sex scandals. A golfer whose caddy accused her of forcing him to impregnate her. A lot of weird things going on.
What?
We'll talk about that. Then for small town murder, we're going to talk about Leonard Lake and Charles Eng. In their own words, sort of. We're going to talk about that because California just approved the execution of Charles Eng. So
Charles had some words?
He's got some words. Yeah, he does. So we'll talk about them and all of the wild stuff they did kind of in a weird, we narrowcast it. It's going to be weird stuff there. Patreon.com/crime and sports, that is. And the disclaimer, of course, this is a comedy show.
It is, yeah.
We're comedians, but the story's real. We promise. There's no way you could make this up. Number one, nothing gets made up for comedic effect. You don't have to. Crazy stuff happens, and there's plenty to make fun of in the craziness that goes around a murder. What we try not to do, we go out of our way not to do, is we try not to make fun of the victims or the victims' families.
Why is that, James?
Because we're assholes, but we're not scumbags. That's how that works. So there's plenty to make fun of. Small towns, everybody's from a small town. We all should have a sense of humor about that. Murderers we'll make fun of, a bumbling police force, all sorts of stuff. But if that sounds good to you, if you think we're going to have a good time, if you think true crime and comedy should never go together, then maybe we're not for you. But maybe we are. Either way, no complaining later. Yeah. But what you should do is sit back, clear the lungs right now, and shout, "Shut up
and give me murder."
Let's do this, Jimmy.
Okay.
Let's go on a trip, shall we?
Yeah.
Look at us.
Where were we just a minute
Idaho.
ago?
Idaho.
Oh, yeah.
Coming from Idaho on the last full-length episode there, Coeur d'Alene. We're going all the way to New Hampshire, across the country, staying up north in Hooksett, New Hampshire, which is south-central New Hampshire. It's right outside Manchester. 15 minutes to Manchester. Also, Concord is right there. It's right in that area. About 50 minutes to Plymouth, New Hampshire, which was our last episode 254, the serial killer Happy Meal episode. So that was a wild one. Go back and listen to that one again. That was crazy. This is in Merrimack County, area code 603. And a little bit on the history real quick because there's not too much here. I mean, there's a lot of history, but nothing that's, funny, really. So it stands out. People seem to love to know the origin of names of these towns, so I try to find that. First known as
Hooksett seems some fishing shit. Am I close?
Hooksett, yeah, you would think so, with 2 T's though. So, but right away, Hooksett, boom, there you go, fish on the line. It's first known as Chester Woods. I guess probably a guy named Chester. There's a lot of woods. Then Rose Corner. It's probably a guy named Roe bought it. Then it was called Hooksett for nearly 50 years before it finally became like an official town named Hooksett. Okay. People just called it that. I guess there's a hook-shaped island around there that the early fishermen used to call Hook Line Falls, and that's where it came from.
Got it.
That's the whole deal here. So today they still have. 1974, the lottery-funded Hooksett Canal became a part of transportation facilities. So they had all sorts of. They started getting more ways to go through here. Boats and shit to go through here so they could make some money taking stuff out of the
I hear
ports and
canal
shit.
as somebody from the Southwest, and I'd see a very tiny stream.
You see a dry concrete bed.
Concrete V that
you could jump your bike out of.
It'll get going.
That you could jump a bike out of when you're 13.
There it is.
Yeah, that's exactly what those are for. So the reviews of this town, and this is where we shine, and we love the reviews. We've got them kind of spanning everything here, 1 to 5. 5 stars. Murphy's Tap Room is a popular locally owned operated bar in my area. The bar has the best selection of beers on tap than any other establishment, with 120 taps, always featuring locally brewed options from surrounding towns. This is why I
review the town. You could get drunk here.
I love the super tight microscopic focus that people have in their interviews. Just the little thing that affected them, and they're like, I need to write a review. That's why they're funny. It's not about what they're reviewing. It's that the review tells more about the reviewer than what they're reviewing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's what's fun.
And that's who's here.
That's it. In addition to the beer selection, Murphy's also offers a diverse menu. Okay, why don't you just... This is for Yelp. This isn't for niche.com. This is fucking crazy. The front tap room is never empty, but it's easy to converse with the other guests or enjoy a sports game on one of the TVs. The back room often hosts live local bands. That's all they're talking about, along with a variety of sports events, a variety of events such as a comedy night. I'm sure that's a wonderful event. Some poor guy with a goddamn guitar speaker out there and a microphone hooked up to it. Trivia night, and private functions. The best spot in the whole place, however, is the deck in the warmer months. The deck seats 300 people and almost always features a local musician. Overall, the service and selection is unbeatable. That's their whole review of this town.
What about the schools, man?
Nope. Roads, schools, crime, housing. Don't give a shit.
Who gives
this bar?
Shit? There's comedy night.
It doesn't matter. There's always a local musician out on the deck, so we're fine. As long as there's a local out on the deck, we're good. Holy shit. 4 stars. Living in Hooksett is great. My office building is directly across the street from my apartment. Terrific. It's not really has to do with the town. You just rented properly.
Very close proximity to work.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to both major cities in my area. Town is pretty quiet, and if I was considering starting a family, I may think of Hooksett to be the place.
Okay.
All right. 4 stars. Just needs to stop snowing. 5 feet is too much. You know, you moved to New Hampshire. It snows there. I don't know what to tell you. Who are you telling this to? Is there someone who could fix this? You can't complain to a manager about weather.
Turn down the snower.
Yeah, that doesn't work. Here's 3 stars. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but, quote, don't use it, but it's there. I don't know what that means. That's the entire review. There's not all lowercase letters, no punctuation, don't use it, but it's there. I feel like it's a code of some kind. Like if you rearrange the letters, it could spell something else that's like a sign for help or something.
Sending a code to somebody they met on Bumble. They're like, just go to niche.com and you'll get your message.
We'll go back and forth. No, the reviews of Hooksett, New Hampshire. That's what we're doing. No one will see it. Wow. Here we go. 2 stars. There are 2 great farm stands, but basically ugly car lots and businesses that most towns wouldn't allow to fill main drags. There is one great bar/restaurant, the Tap House. I don't know if that's
Murphy's.
It's Murphy's Tap Room, what they're saying. So I don't know if that's the same place or what.
There's 2 places.
And a destination restaurant, the Bavarian, but otherwise a wasteland, particularly at night. A wasteland. Wow. Good sports field and library. Well, I mean, that's not a total wasteland, I guess. You can't say it's like Mad Max out here, but that's a beautiful Little League field. You know what I mean? There was no Little League fields.
If they're playing soccer.
Yeah, it's all of Mad Max's kids. All of the parents are on the side with like mohawks and crazy half jackets and shit and one eyeball.
Tires on their shoulder.
Yeah, just wearing them as a necklace. Let's see. Convenient box stores, but no interesting local retailers. Good location, poor government. New community center, but no high school. Great. Okay. Terrific. Yeah. So it's not all there is what you're saying. People in this town, 14,703. So not too many.
Is that right?
Yeah, not a lot, not a little, just some. It's about normal, male, female. Median age is 41, which is 3-4 years older than normal. The people here, more married people than normal. As you might imagine, it's kind of it's a suburban type feel to this place. Yeah. It's not like it's not real urban around here. Race of this town, 93.1% white, which it's New Hampshire. If you've been to New Hampshire, you're like, wow, there's a lot of white people here. 0.8% black, 0.8% Asian, and 3.2% Hispanic. So. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty white there. Religion, 31% of the people here are religious, and I'll give you one guess what's leading the way there. It is
absolutely Catholic.
Catholics are, as you know, the Baptists of the North, and this is true. Right in the heart of it right there. 0.3% Jewish, so not quite.
Really?
Not quite. We didn't get to Hava Nagila territory, but It's all right. In the last election in this county, 53.8% voted Democratic, 44.1% Republican, 2.1% Independent. The economy around here, the unemployment rate is extremely low. It's 3%. Which is just, I mean, there's a lot of places to work. You can even commute to Boston if you really wanted to.
Yeah,
so
sure can.
There's a lot of places to work. And the median household income here is $82,725 a year.
Doing great.
Yeah, it's almost $30,000 more than the national average. So that's not too shabby. And the cost of living, 100 is average. Here it's 103.5. Not that expensive.
Yeah, very affordable.
Housing's a little pricey, but not for the area, honestly. Median home costs $365,600, which is high, but not.
That's great.
Not outrageous.
There's a fucking island.
That's what I mean. It could be way more here. Yeah. And to prove that, we have for you the Hooksett, New Hampshire real estate report. Your average two-bedroom rental here goes for $1,237, which is...
That's a deal.
It's right around the national average, honestly. Yeah. It's right around that. Found a few options here. First of all, there's a trailer. This is your economy option. Two-bedroom, two-bath, 876 square feet. This is your single-wide standard trailer here. It looks like there's a lot of ant traps on the counter.
No, that's not good.
Ant traps. That's a bad sign, probably. If there's
there's some weather stripping or caulking ruin somewhere.
Yeah, that's not one ant trap. This is they're lined up like this counter's covered in ants all the time. That's a problem. That's not good. Maybe sweep that off before you take the real estate pictures. But who am I to give people advice? There's it's really weird. There might be a possible wood-burning stove here, but don't quote us on it. It's one of those. It's not great. It's just very weird, but it's livable, I suppose. It's not falling apart or anything. $110,000. So
that's steep.
It's still steep, yeah. 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,450 square feet. It's nice. It's boring. It's standard. It's cookie cutter. It looks like tract housing. $399,900 for that. And then I have a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 5,500 square foot.
Holy shit!
A beautiful old brick farmhouse. It's fucking gorgeous. The outside's really gorgeous. It looks like a place where people take wedding pictures. That's what it looks like.
2-story or single story?
It's 2-story. It's a nice place. A lot of taxidermy in there. A lot of things like that. It's a pretty house. $1,350,000 for that. Shit. So not bad for that. For what you're getting, it's not terrible, but obviously still very pricey. Things to do here. Oh man, the New Hampshire Poutine Festival.
Yeah. They do it?
They have it there. Well, you're very close to Quebec.
Yeah.
You're only it's like a 2-hour drive to French Canada. So, they're going to be at the grounds of Anheuser-Busch in Merrimack on October 15th, 2022. You can get there still. This didn't already happen.
Yeah.
We loved our Halloween event last year so much. It's officially a permanent thing.
Awesome.
Permanent poutine is happening. You got it, everybody. And people, by the way, have... Last time poutine came up, we talked about it, and then in our listener groups, there was warfare on how to say this word. And I'm talking, some Canadian was like, James didn't say it right. And then some, other Canadians were like, yes, he did. You're fucking stupid. And they were like, no, he didn't. And then they went back and forth. And I was out of it after the first comment, and it was all on them now. And they were arguing about how to say poutine. I was like, wow, I don't have a horse in this race.
You lit a fire and walked away.
I have no idea. All I said was said something. I just said a word. That's not a fire. Jesus, that wasn't even a spark.
I didn't realize there was multiple ways to pronounce that.
That's how I've heard it said by Canadian people who told me I should eat it. So that's why I say it. I don't know if they were wrong. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. So what's better than celebrating Halloween with poutine?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you want in your bag when you walk up. Trick or treat, and someone gets a big spoonful of cheese curds and gravy and slaps it on top of your Snickers bars and your Milky Ways. Thanks a lot. Jesus.
A ladle of that on your Twizzlers.
There you go. And they just do it in a circle, like they're putting it around on a plate.
Extra gravy.
Thank you. Thank you very much here. That's wonderful. We're planning some fun activities and strongly encourage attendees to dress in their Halloween best. Oh, yeah.
Oh, fall up there is it's
gorgeous,
man.
It's beautiful up there. It's where what is it, 2 hours, 3 hours from here? From where we are here in New York. It's
best.
Beautiful. Yeah, I know here because it's beautiful. Yeah, so there, it's some shorts.
Stunning.
Similar. So, that's the Northeast is known for that. People
it's
come
truly amazing.
Like in Dutchess County, like people come from Europe to look at leaves. Like you gotta imagine how much money and time you have to be like, let us go across an ocean. Why shall we go, my love? For leaves. That's why. We shall go for leaves. We will look at the leaves, and then we will drive and look at more leaves. That's what we shall do.
People from Boston, because they're in the city where there's all this concrete and buildings and shit, they'll leave that and just drive. They won't go east or what. I mean, I guess you can't go east, but go west of that.
Well, that's that Family Guy episode.
Yeah.
The old one was leafers, and everybody would, as soon as one leaf changed, all the local people would run away, and it would be like people from New York and Boston would be coming and go, hey, look at these leaves. Look at it. It's beautiful. It's orange. That's what goes on.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
Just the fucking hills are on fire. It's amazing.
It's gorgeous. So Merrimack is located less than an hour from Boston and is 15 minutes from Manchester Boston Regional Airport. Premier and general admission ticket holders have the opportunity to sample poutine, a healthy portion, in parentheses, from our participating restaurants.
It's a terrible word to describe that shit.
It really is. It's not. It doesn't sound.
There's nothing healthy about that.
Oh God, no. It's cheese, curds, and gravy, man. It is what it is. They're all going to be competing for the best poutine of the fest, and only one will get to raise a special Halloween edition of the championship belt. I saw they have a belt for this actually. They're going to have a band / DJ. Great beer, games, children's activities, and some phenomenal poutine. So get on in there. And, much of the event will be covered in case it rains, so it won't water down your poutine.
That's nice, yeah.
That's nice. And no refunds or exchanges of tickets, though. Once you buy you break the poutine, you bought the poutine. So crime rate in this town, what we're interested in, of course, property crime is right at average. It's just totally average. And I think half of that comes from all the bad element coming in for the poutine festival, probably.
Leaf peepers.
It's leaf peeping, poutine. They just peeping leaves with a cup of poutine, just eating it with a spoon, just looking around. Look at those leaves, and they want to steal something. It's obvious, Hey, I'm going to go steal. I'm going to steal this over here. Look, I can't help it. I don't know why. The poutine's making me crazy.
Poutine went to my brain.
It went to my head. What do you want from me? Violent crime, murder, rape, robbery, and, of course, assault. The Mount Rushmore of crime is actually it's under half of the national average. So it's very, very safe area. It's hard to kill someone with a handful of poutine, obviously.
You're always occupied.
I'm going to spill this. Get out of here. What are you doing?
Only person you murder up there is the person that gets in between you and your view of the leaves.
That's it. I dropped 3 French fries. I looked down. I missed a leaf. What's wrong with you people?
Fuck out of the way.
Get out of my way. Poutine. It's for the kids. So that said, let's talk about a murder, shall we?
All right.
It's actually more than that. So there's some good background that we got here from a book called Our Little Secret by Kevin Flynn and Rebecca Lavoie, and very good detail in this book if you're interested in getting a little bit more background on this. You want to read it after. We have to go back. Let's start in 1985, okay? We'll bounce around a bit, but let's start kind of in the main heart of the story. Oh, New Hampshire in 85. Yeah. This is 85. We're in peak middle season 3 Stranger Things here. You know what I mean? Good stuff right here. Steve scooping ice cream at the mall.
Hell yeah.
Good things are happening.
It's fucking Chips Ahoy outfit. What is it called? Scoops Ahoy?
Scoops Ahoy. Scoops Ahoy. Yeah, with a sailor outfit.
Looking like an asshole.
Scoops Ahoy. I like how he's got to wear
torment and torture
little shorts.
That these businesses put children through.
Oh man, I saw the girl at the hot
like
dog.
An asshole and sell this strawberry.
The hot dog on a stick place in the Phoenix, at the Paradise Valley Mall. They'd make that kid. So it'd be some 16-year-old girl with a giant phallic thing on her fucking forehead sticking out. And she's like, welcome to Hot Dog on a Stick. I know I look ridiculous. Can I help you? Like bright yellow outfit. Like, holy shit. Why'd they make you look like a human hot dog? That's fucked up.
Why'd they make you a dickhead? This is ridiculous.
Jesus Christ. With your phallic head.
Why do corporations
do that?
Why do they do that to people?
I don't know. I don't know why.
I get making everybody look the same to know who to answer.
Yeah, that makes sense. But that's what it is, though. Perfect. Now they look like morons. Open the door. Send in the public. Like, why would you do that?
It makes them so much more just evil fucking monsters. You're already not paying them enough and taking all the fucking money. Now you got to put them through this shit. You put a dick on a child's head.
The worst, though, the dick on the child's head, you got to do a lot of bad jobs when you're a teenager. There's a manager there who's like 33 years old who has kids, and he's wearing a dick on his head, too. And he's like, Jessica, adjust your dick. It's crooked. We keep it buttoned up here at Hot Dog on a Stick. That's what happens.
Oh, God, Jesus.
There you go.
I wish corporate America would stop it with torturing children. I get we have to all look the same if we work
that
here.
Makes sense.
So that people know that we're the ones that work here.
You're part of the crew. It makes
not
sense.
asshole. We don't have to be asshole.
It's not for me. I'm uncomfortable that you have a giant dick on your head. That makes me uncomfortable while I eat. So honestly, you can take that right off and I'm fine with it. Just a regular hat that says Hot Dog on a Stick would have done just fine. Maybe a picture of a hot dog with mustard on it. So, terrific. Why this hat? Why a Buckingham Palace penis hat? I don't understand what we're doing. So, anyway, November 5th, 1985, kids have dicks on their heads. They're scooping ice cream in sailor costumes. It's
going great.
The world is really messed up here.
And nobody's questioning it. We're just doing it because they're paying us $3.25 and we're earning it.
That's what's going on, babe. So this is a Saturday morning on November 9th, 1985. And let's introduce you to a man here, Danny Paquette. I'm going to say Paquette. It could be Paquette, Paquett.
It's probably Paquette. It's got to be Paquette, right?
I guess so. Paquette. I'm going to say Paquette because I've heard it said different ways. Danny is his name anyway. Okay. He's 36 years old here. He's born in 1949. He's from Manchester is where he was born, and kind of he's been raised in this area. And his family, as a matter of fact, is like they were like farmers in this area. So he's one of 6 children. He's the youngest of 6. So always the youngest of a lot of kids is always an odd bird. Not an odd. Man. They can be really cool. It can go a lot of ways for the youngest because sometimes the parents are done by the time you come along and they're like, I don't fucking care what you do. And
when there's a lot, that's what it tends to be. But when there's only like 3 or 4, most of the time that kid is doted on for so fucking long.
They're the and it depends on how far they came after everybody else. If when he's born, their youngest kid was 9 at that point. That's the baby at that, and he'll always be the baby. So he's born there, and youngest of 6 kids. He had an older brother named Victor, and he's got an older brother named Arthur, and he's got 3 older sisters as well, named Joanne, Marion, and Nadine. And his dad is Arthur Sr., and his mother's name is Rena. And we'll talk about her in detail in a little while here. And they all run a dairy farm on Brown Avenue there.
All 8 of them?
So that's a family dairy farm. Shit. That's their job, is the dairy farm. So it's a small dairy. They don't have a lot of money, but they're not poor.
They're doing fine.
They're doing okay. Just salt of the earth farm people, getting by. So this particular Saturday, Danny, he's at 36 years old. He has his own little kind of homestead now. Sure. Well, not a homestead. He works and shit. He's not he's not trading chicken eggs for stuff, but for legal help or anything. I'm talking, but he's got a
trade chicken eggs for legal help and sex.
Yeah, these are real good eggs, I'm telling you, boy. No, they're good eggs. You don't understand. They're real organic. It's worth it. So organic, they're orgasmic. Wink, wink, let's do it. Come on.
You know what I mean.
You know what I'm talking about, baby. So anyway, he's got his own place. He's got a house. It's got like a bunch of little outbuildings. He's got a garage, workshop area. He's got all sorts of stuff.
Man.
Oh, God, he's a carpenter and a master. Welding is his main. He's got a welding business, but he's also a skilled carpenter, and he knows how to do all that shit. He fixes cars on the side and does things like that just for shits and giggles. But apparently welding, he's phenomenal at welding. That's his thing. He makes things out of
ornamental shit.
Yeah, he does that too, out of scrap metal.
Awesome.
His property kind of looks like a junkyard.
but
it's
he's organized using chaos.
Well, he's using this stuff, so it's new stuff's coming in, and he's using it, and it's going out at the same time. So if you just drove by, you'd go, it looks like a junkyard. But if you knew what he's doing, he's using all this shit. He just needs a lot of metal around all the time. So that's kind of how he's going. He's got a bunch of land, house, barn, garage, all that kind of shit. So he's doing his deal here. He's a good worker. Likes to work around the place. It's Saturday morning. He's up and doing shit and working, and he's grew up like that, waking up early, milking the cows. Dairy farm. There's a lot of work to do.
Oh boy, yeah.
There's a lot of poop to deal with.
Yeah. There's a lot going in, a lot coming out. It's a lot of shit. A
lot of things to feed, a lot of things to shit, a lot of things to like get eggs and milk out of things, and there's a lot going on there. So anyway, Danny's doing his deal, and he, like I said, he does auto repair on the side. He's got a girlfriend at this point who they've been closer, and now they were together, they lived together, they didn't live together, they broke up, they're back together. They have kind of a shaky relationship here. Her name is Ruth. Ruth, I'm going to say Zeleste. Zeleste.
Wow.
Zeleste, I'm going to say. Mama Zeleste here with her frozen pizza. Anyway, she just came to New Hampshire here. She lived in western Pennsylvania, and she had moved with her ex-husband here as well, and 3 of her teenage sons earlier. Okay. And they met and they got together. Now, Danny around town, the women who don't know him real well, they find him attractive.
Oh.
Danny's kind of an independent guy. Yeah. So he's got kind of like a bad boy streak to him that the ladies kind of like, but he's also, he's got his own house. He runs his own business. So, I mean, you look at him and you go, all right, he's mid-30s. Women who are looking to settle down in that age group are like, that's not a bad candidate right there. He's a handsome guy. He's got all these things that I'm looking for. Not too shabby here. So Rita, she likes him a lot. Is that her name? Yes.
Rena?
No, Rena's his mom. I'm talking about Zeleste here. Ruth Zeleste. I'm sorry.
There it is.
Ruth. Why did I say Rita? It's a mix between his mother and nobody who exists in this story. His mother's name is Rena. His girlfriend's name is Ruth. So she likes him a lot, and she's into him. She has teenage boys, though, that don't get along with Danny at all.
Really?
Not at all, no. They've had big falling outs and open fighting and arguing and yelling at each other in the front lawn. There was a physical confrontation that they didn't like. He says they're all lazy, basically, Danny. He likes the youngest one the best. He said the youngest one's actually a nice kid. He does what he's told. He tries.
He's not ruined yet. Yeah.
No, like if you're working around the yard, you can tell him go do that, and he'll go do it. Whereas he said the other one, the oldest kid, is into like music, and he's not into like fixing cars and welding and shit. So they're not. He doesn't like him.
Yeah, and he might be. He just doesn't want to do it with you.
Yeah, no, he's not into that shit.
No?
It's not his thing. He likes to like play music and stuff.
He's an actual rock star guy. Yeah.
He's not trying to do all that. The middle kid really is interested in cars and shit. And Danny likes that, but he calls the kid a slob and said he leaves his tools out and shit, so he doesn't like that about him. But he's a teenager. I mean, you got to kind of get a guy.
His organizational skills are not on par yet.
Yeah, I wonder what his trapper keeper looks like. It's probably a disaster. So,
don't work in his backpack. For
good God, Jesus! There's lunch from 6 months ago in there. Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you about the safest sponsor ever, Simply Safe. Absolutely, these people will keep you safe. It's amazing. You know that every 26 seconds a burglary takes place in the United States, according to the FBI. That means that by the time this podcast is over, dozens and dozens of homes will have been targeted, ransacked, God knows what happens here. So protect your home before it's too late with Simply Safe proactive security system. Simply Safe helps stop threats before they even have a chance to break in. Named Best Home Security System by U.S. News & World Report 5 years in a row. And by us for about the last 8 years as well. If you trust us, believe me, you want Simply Safe. So visit simplysafe.com/small to claim 50% off a new system with professional monitoring plan and your first month free. That's simplysafe.com/small. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Now back to the show.
This show, Small Town Murder, is brought to you by BetterHelp. Get yourself some therapy, everybody. Honestly, here. We often hear about, red flags that you should avoid. Hey, that's a lot of a thing. It's become a real phrase now, real cliche. Yeah. But why don't you focus also, you look at like green flags in friends and partners. Look for good things as well. Right. And maybe you're not sure what that looks like, though. Therapy can help you figure that out. What are positive things? What are the green flags? And then you can practice them in your relationship. It's absolutely a fact. And so, honestly, we absolutely are huge advocates for this. It really, really helps. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable. It's convenient. They serve over 5 million people worldwide. You can access a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists, wide ranges of specialties there. Here's the coolest part. You're not getting along with your therapist, you're just not feeling it, you can switch at any time, no extra charge.
Wow.
The thing is, they want you to get help. That's it. And you can do it with BetterHelp. Discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/smalltownmurder today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
So she wanted to move in, Ruth did, into his house and bring her boys with her there. But they didn't want to do that. The boys didn't want to do that, really, since they just didn't really get like him. They didn't really get along. So she keeps a place of her own, and she moves in with him sometimes. So they always have this place that Ruth got for herself and the boys, and kind of they stay there. Danny really, though, his most of his hatred goes toward Vincent, who is the oldest one, and he's the one who's like the kind of considered the laziest.
Yeah,
and he thinks
Vinny's a real piece of shit.
Yeah, Vin, and Vinny doesn't like him. He said he tells him that all the time. Danny will yell at Vinny, tell him he's a lazy hippie fuck, and why don't you cut your hair and all that kind of shit. So we'll talk about, too, Dick. Danny was in the Army, and he's got just a different way of doing things here.
Sure.
And then Mark is the one that he likes. That's the one he likes to fix cars up, but he's messy. So, God forbid, there's that. So
How old, where's their dad? She's just a single lady. Dad's not in the picture at all?
Ex-husband moved with them to be close, but he's around. But the kids live with him and live with her, live with Ruth, and then they go to see their dad sometimes, too. Okay. So, November 8th, Ruth had spent the night at his house. The night before this morning that he's out there working. She spent the night at his house. The sons had spent the night back at her apartment in another town. They had been fucking all night. This has been a fuck fest. It's been a fuck face. But I bet there was some fuck-facing involved.
You might not be far off.
In either direction. Apparently, it was like an all-night-long thing, so there's got to be some kind of face fucking going on at some point. If it's going to go on all night.
She's got a slow drip this morning.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. So she was into that, and Danny's known for having a very, very large sex drive. And so she's got to deal with that. Now, this Saturday morning on November 9th, Richard Duarte, he's over here, too, at Danny's house. He comes over because he had bought a 54 Ford from Danny.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, so he's got that, and he's been working on it in Danny's garage because it needs some work, and he's been he borrows Danny's tools to work on it, too, and Danny doesn't mind. This guy, not bothering him and whatever. So this guy pulled in the driveway about 9 p.m., or 9 a.m., I'm sorry, this morning, and when he got there, Danny and Ruth were in the garage, and they were laughing. They're having a good old time laughing. Duarte walks in and hears Ruth say, "You're awful," while laughing. And then Danny slapped her on her ass and she laughed some more. And then she said, "I'll leave you to do your work," and walked out. So,
oh my God.
Yeah.
What a beautiful morning.
This guy walked in. He's like, "Oh, this is fun over here." Oh,
he must have been laying it down. Joke. She said, "You're awful." You're damn right I am.
And she goes, "That's right. I'll leave you to work and I'll come get that ass afterwards." That's what she's saying, too.
That's incredible.
Sounds fun, right? It sounds okay. So Duarte said Danny even watched her walk away and was scoping her out and everything. And then Danny turns to him and he says, "I've been waiting for that kid who helps out to give me a call." And he said, "All right, well, let's get to work." And whenever he shows up, and that's it. He said Danny was in a great mood. Of course he's in a great mood. Sounds like he's having a wonderful day.
Sounds like a nice little life.
Yeah, not bad at all. I'm not too shabby. He's living the life. So there's the kid who he's waiting for is named Court Burton, and Court is spelled like a courtroom, like a court of law. Yeah, which
like
I've
short
seen.
For Courtney?
I don't know. I've seen CORT, but COURT is Courtney. There's guys named Courtney, so I don't know. Of course, yeah. So anyway, Court Burton is his name. He's 17. He had met Danny while he was working some construction. Danny was doing a welding job for a utility company there, but he did also like freelance work on the side and would do shit on construction sites. When they need a couple of things done, he comes on and does it. And I guess Danny took an interest in this Court Burton kid and, befriended him and all that kind of shit, told him he liked his work ethic. And he said, you work hard, you seem to take pride in what you do, and he liked him. This was like, he saw him as like a little protege, basically. So then Danny would talk to Burton about, Jesus Christ, he'd bitch to Burton about his girlfriend's sons. Yeah. It's like, they're your age, why can't they be like you? Right. You know what I mean? Jesus Christ, I wish I could trade the kid Vincent for you. That'd be terrific. He said basically, this is the way it was put in the book, and I think it's a good way to put it, that Vincent and the rest of the kids didn't live up to his standards of manliness. That's what it mainly was. Just not, these kids are soft these days. That's all it is. You'll hear that. Danny, I'm sure, would be considered soft by his father too. That's the thing, Every generation is softer than the previous generation.
Pussification, James. That's what they're saying. I don't know.
It happens,
true, but
yeah. Well, I mean, it's just we all, as the human race, tries to make life easier for itself.
Right.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
It's all it is.
It's trying and giving your kids more opportunity to do less hard things. You're giving them. You're just trying to make it easier on them.
Yeah, my grandmother had to hide in a hole from Nazis with the family there while they spoke German and stomped over foot. So she said, let's go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And maybe it's better there. And then my mother never had to do that. So she would be considered soft by my grandmother because she's like, you're not even afraid of the Nazis killing your whole family at any moment in time in the middle of the night.
When was the last time you burrowed into a hay bale, James?
Yeah. What's up with that? Yeah. And then forget about it. By the time it got to me, it's super soft. So that's just all perspective. I mean,
sure.
Anybody who you can think of like your rugged grandfather, his father called him a pussy.
For
Put
sure.
it that way. Yeah. And you know it. And then his father before him called him a pussy.
Yes.
And so on and so forth.
If you don't hope that your children have it easier than you had as a child, how great was your fucking childhood?
Yeah. Must have been fantastic.
If you need your kid to struggle a little more than you struggled, then you probably did nothing hard.
That's true. That's nothing at all.
No.
Yeah, you're like, oh man, I wanted to be just like me. So I guess Danny, as he's waiting for the kid. He's also waiting for some friends of his to come. He tells Duarte, you have to meet these Canadian guys. They chew cigars and speak broken English. It's a friggin' riot.
Cigars.
They chew cigars, and I think they speak probably French because it's a couple hours away. So he's like, it's a friggin' riot. You're going to love it when you see these guys. Wait till you see him, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, he's super New England. I like it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's a friggin' riot. It's a wicked riot. You're going to love it. He said, when are they coming? And he said, this morning I made a fuel tank for them. So at that point, Duarte said he heard a truck pull up and the doors came, and here comes the Canadian shaking hands with Danny. Yeah. And Duarte kept his attention on his car. He didn't really worry about it. Okay. But Danny's working on a bulldozer for the Canadians. He's putting a fuel tank on a bulldozer, basically, is his whole deal here. So he told him I should have it ready for you today. I'm still waiting on this kid from work to show up to help me paint some of the tanks, and then we'll slap them on, and we'll be done here. So Court then shows up, right? Everything's working out. Slapping the asses. People are showing up right in line. Whenever they're called, whenever they're spoken of, they just appear this morning. Where's that kid? Oh, here he is. Okay.
He's got a schedule like nobody. He's so good at this that he can just, he knows when people are supposed to be there, and he will line up everything he's doing in accordance to when people will be there to assist in the next thing I have to do.
That's not bad. I'm not that organized. The only thing the only thing I've ever been organized with in my entire life is stand-up comedy and this show. That's it. I've been terrible at everything else because I'm disorganized. Those are the only things that for some reason I have like a really weird OCD organization over them, and everything else I could care less about, and I just couldn't care less, and I don't want to do it. So
I was fired from everything I've ever done.
Yeah. Except for this.
I'm terrible at it. I'm terrible.
No one can fire us now, Jimmy. No matter how terrible we are.
Can't even make me wear a dick on my head.
No. You can try, but I don't have to. So Court Burton walks up the driveway, and Danny takes a check from the Canadians for $244.
Okay.
And he's looking for a caulking gun that one of the guys needs. And, they're all working around here. Danny's trying to finish working on the bulldozer, and the Canadians pull out of the driveway. They're going to come back later. They said, we have an appointment in Manchester. We'll be back later if you'll be done. That's pretty cool. Driving down the road, they see tons of like trucks and cars on the side of the road that are going into the woods and shit. It's the first day of hunting season today, by the way.
Oh, shit.
So first day of hunting season on a Saturday morning. I mean, people are the woods are swollen with people.
Yeah.
The hospitals are going to be busy later. Put
You're
it that
not
way.
hitting anything but your neighbor.
Yeah, it's all the deer are like, oh shit, there's trucks in the woods, run. And
There's
you're hitting
so
Bob.
much noise out there. Every animal has run.
All of them, yeah. So he asked the kid, can you help me weld a plate on the bulldozer? Then I'm going to have you mix some paint so you can paint the fuel tanks.
Yeah.
So the kid said, sure, absolutely, let's do it. Follows Danny back across the garage, and there's he sees Duarte in there working on the Ford and all that kind of shit. And he says, he asked Danny, do you mind heating up the star gears again? Do you know what that means? That's a car thing. I don't know what that means.
The star. I imagine it's something with the torch.
Probably something to get it to something to come out or work or something. Maybe if something is like stuck. Yeah, so I mean like rusted shut or together or something. Either way, Danny pauses, helps him out for a second, and then goes back over to Court and leads him over to the bulldozer, hands him the metal plate, and he says, hold it right here while I weld it in place.
Right.
Simple enough. Danny's wearing leather gloves and overalls. He's got his murder pants on. He's got his welding torch. He drops the face guard.
Hell yeah.
And he tells the kid, don't look. Obviously, dipshit.
Burn your fucking retina, kid.
I think the kid knows that by now, but he's telling him, don't look now. Like he's joking around with him. And the kid's like, yeah, I know. I've been on a construction site. That's where I met you. So he's doing it. She's, welding on there.
Sparks going everywhere.
Sparks,
it's
flames,
awesome.
everything. Yeah, it's cool looking. So the bulldozer, by the way, is out by itself. It's far away from anything else there, okay? There's all sorts of vehicles, but it's all by itself, you know what I mean, sitting there. There's a bunch of cars. There's also one that's abandoned by one of Ruth's sons that really pisses him off. It's a rusted car, and he keeps telling them to get the shit box off my lawn.
Out of here, Vinny, you lazy fuck.
But there's a shitload of cars on there, so it doesn't matter. So he says, fine, if you're going to leave it here, I'll use the parts for future shit that I need, so I'll just take it. So that's what he's thinking to do. And anyway, he's in there, he's welding, he's doing his deal here. The bulldozer's parked alongside an outbuilding, and through the opening in the driver's cab, you could see the woods along the far end of the land. About 300 yards away, there's woods, like a line of woods there. So, most of the leaves are off the trees, so you just basically see trees, and you can kind of see deep into the woods. Nice, cool day. And so Danny switches off the welding thing there. His arc is turned off, and he, it's all the plates in place. And he says, here, this is how I want you to mix this paint. He tells the kid what to do. And then he leaves the kid in the garage with Duarte working on the Ford, and he goes out to finish the bulldozer shit that he has to do, Danny.
Yes.
So Duarte's in there having trouble with the car, can't figure it out what the hell's going on in there. Court is mixing the paint, doing his thing. Now, Duarte basically, by the way, he's a little bit annoyed at this point because the kid is hanging around the garage. Now, this kid's not a bad kid. He's not pissed off that he has to hang out with this kid around the garage, but it's kind of Danny's always got like weird things going on with younger people. And he's like younger kids in the neighborhood, like he'll fix their shit, he'll fix their toys and stuff like that, which is all nice. If somebody's tricycle breaks, he'll weld it back together.
Okay.
That's all fine and dandy and shit. But he'd also heard Danny talk about some of the young girls who lived in the neighborhood.
Oh, no.
Saying there was one that he'd been dating on the side. You're not dating a young girl, first of all. We're talking adult girl.
Yeah, like
you
16?
Yeah, you don't date a child. That's not how that works when you're 36.
It's another
You're molesting.
word.
I'm actively molesting a child is what he should say.
You're grooming and molesting. That's what you're doing.
I'm molesting a child. That's what he should say. By the way, please don't isolate that. So he said, there was all that. Now, Duarte said he thought the girl was about 15 that he was dating.
Yikes.
And I'm putting dating in quotes because it's obviously not dating that he's abusing. So he also knew that Danny had showed an interest in Duarte's teenage daughter. Now, would you hang out with anyone who showed an interest in your teenage daughter?
No,
I'm not hanging out with them at all. He talked to her about it, but she said there's no relationship. Maybe he likes me or whatever, but he was worried that he wasn't mad at that. He was worried that this would ruin the friendship between him and Danny.
My daughter's getting in the way of my friends.
Yeah. Stop dating my friends because I like them. Like, wrong. But I guess this guy works a ton. He doesn't have a lot of friends, and Danny's like one of his closest friends. So he's like, if I don't have this guy, I got no friends. What am I supposed to do?
He's got the garage I work on my Ford in.
Yeah.
Stop hitting on my friends.
God damn it, Jesus. Yeah, blames his daughter. So Duarte's cleaning up the shop, and he's got pissed off at the breaks, so he's going to leave. He's got something to do. He's going to come back with fresh eyes and work on them later, which is always a good idea, by the way.
You got to walk away from him. You'll break something.
That's it. You'll fuck something up. Yeah. So he started to walk outside, and he's to clean his hands, and all of a sudden he hears a loud crack. Oh. It was like, what the hell was that? It was very sudden and very loud enough that you could hear it over the noise of the welding generator, which they're loud. Especially in an open area like that, you're going to hear. So it was a crack. And Duarte was a Marine in Vietnam, so he said it sounded to him like it reminded him of an M2 carbine shot. That's what it would sound like. See, he's heard plenty of gunshots if he's did Vietnam. He said that sort of thing, or, he was just saying it was a loud crack. So he went to the door and he saw Court Burton standing there, and Court had ran in to look for him. Yeah. And Court looked all panicked out, and he says to Duarte, there's something wrong with Dan. Oh. Okay, so Duarte looks over toward the bulldozer, and he sees that Danny's welding helmet is rolling along the ground, which is abnormal. So he looks for Danny, and he didn't see him standing next to the bulldozer. Looks down, he's lying flat on the ground. Mm-hmm. So just lying on the ground. He didn't know what to do. He went over to Danny's legs and was like trying to flatten him out, and he started pumping on his chest because he saw CPR. So he's like, I guess CPR. He didn't know what to do. So he didn't even know if he was doing any good because he doesn't know what he's doing. He just saw people you push on their chest.
Bang on the chest plate, yeah.
Yeah, so he did he put his hand up to his nose and mouth to feel breath and didn't feel any breath. So he was like, shit, what do I do here? So he's, standing there yelling at Danny, wake up, Jesus Christ. He doesn't know what happened. He doesn't know if he got electrocuted because he's thinking maybe from the welder or you have a heart attack. What the hell's going on? So he stood up. He's looking around for Court. He sees Court nowhere. So he's like, fuck, I'm on my own here. Gets back down. He's again pumping on his chest. He's doing like a half-assed job of CPR. But he doesn't know what he's doing. Then he gets up and he's looking everywhere he can for help. He sees a neighbor outside across the street. So he yells. And there was the guy across the street was getting his mail. He had putting his mail in the mailbox to be picked up. He had a bunch of envelopes he was about to put in there. And he sees somebody waving and screaming, call the rescue, call the rescue. I think Danny's been electrocuted.
Okay.
So he's like, holy shit. So this guy calls to his wife, call the fire department. Holy fuck. So everybody's falling. The neighbor across the street runs over, and they get there. The torch is still running even. I mean, it's a really weird thing. He had on both of his leather gloves as well, which is like, okay, that should be...
You can't get electrocuted that way.
Yeah, so they're like, what's going on? So he's sprawled flat on his back, just legs out. Looks like looks like Mike Tyson just gave him a left hook and laid his ass out. He looks like he's just out cold. The guy across the street was afraid to touch him because he was wondering if he was electrified. Right. So he didn't want to touch him, and his friend's telling him, fucking, I was just touching him. I didn't get electrocuted. It's fine. He followed the extension cord and, basically ripped the cables out of the generator to turn it off. Just didn't care. Just get it the fuck off so that way they could touch him. So they got there. This guy starts doing mouth-to-mouth on him. Like, he knows how to do CPR, the guy across the street. So he's doing CPR. all that kind of shit. It's at that point where Duarte is pressing down on his chest while the other guy's doing breathing in his mouth. And as he's pressing on his chest, he feels something wet. And he looks at the palm of his hands, Duarte does, and he says he's bleeding.
Yeah.
And they hear bubbling in his mouth. He's got blood in his mouth, too. And they're like, holy shit, what the fuck is he bleeding? So they're like, what happened? So they don't know what to do. So Duarte jumps up, runs into the garage to try to find something to stop the bleeding because I guess there's a lot of blood coming out of his chest. So he grabs some plaster of Paris and brings it outside.
He's going to fucking...
He's going to
paper mache his chest?
He's going to spackle him up, I guess. I don't know. I've never heard of this
Good
before.
Good as new. What the fuck?
This is some country fucking remedy right here. I have never heard of just spackle him up and it'll be fine. That's...
Were we out of duct tape? This is crazy.
Totally. So he said, put this on him. And the guy across the street's like, the fuck am I supposed to do with plaster of Paris? And he's like, just slap it on his chest. I don't know. Just keep doing it. They didn't know what to do. So then, remember Court, the teenager? He finally pops back up again. Duarte says, where the fuck have you been? Where are you? And he said, rescue's on the way. He went to look for help. He went to a neighbor's house, so he just went to a different neighbor. And at that point, they could hear sirens coming and all sorts of shit like that. Yeah. The cop who comes is a rookie cop who's on his day off.
Oh, no.
So he's basically the guy from Clerks who's like, I'm not even supposed to be here today. And he's going to deal with all this.
Old Dante.
Old Dante. So... The call that he got was an electrocution or cardiac arrest. So he didn't know, he's like, I don't fucking know what happened. So he gets there, the fire rescue gets there, and they find the guys hunched over Danny and doing chest compressions and mouth to mouth. There's fucking plaster of Paris all over his chest. They're like, what happened?
They've been doing they're making a model of the fucking solar system.
What are you doing? Are you trying to make a rib cast for him? Like, what's that?
We're doing a diorama.
There's that Seinfeld episode where Elaine's going out with the guy who's like 35 years older than her, and he has a stroke, and they're like, I don't know. They think maybe he's a diabetic and went into a diabetic coma, so they're like, get a cookie in there, move his mouth around. So when the paramedics show up, there's like, what's in his mouth? And they're like, a cookie. And they're like, they go, you're not supposed to do that. And I was just...
We gave him a cookie. We were working his jaw for him.
They did. They were like, make him go up and down. He's like, I'll put it in the blender.
Sir.
And they're like, you can't liquefy a cookie. They have this big argument while a man is dying on their couch.
Of a heart attack.
Of a stroke.
Stroke.
And then afterwards, she ends up dumping him because he had a stroke. And she goes, I like to go out. I like to walk and do things. And like he's just in a wheelchair drooling while she feeds him. It's like, very cruel and funny and great. It's really funny. So anyway, now that we've plugged Seinfeld, we'll get on with this. Not that you haven't had any chance to see it in the last 30 years, but so they were really puzzled by the plaster of Paris, though. They're like, what the fuck?
What were you guys doing?
What are you doing? They move Danny and they uncover just a puddle of blood under him, like a reservoir of blood under him that's soaked into the earth at this point. So it's not good. So next comes the police chief, John Oliver. Yeah, really? Little British guy. He comes in. What's going on here? Yeah, and it's John Oliver is his name. Police Chief John Oliver comes into the picture.
Ranting and raving about some sewer treatment plant named after him.
Absolutely. Actually enjoying it. It was more like, loves that shit. So he loves that shit. So he was talking with the detectives and trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. And they took Danny to the hospital here. He's not doing well. They said the witnesses heard one crack, which could have been a gunshot. The one guy said he knows gunshots, and he heard it. So someone said one shot. It could have been a hunter. Hunting season started today. Sure. Could have been a stray that just, found its way. So the chief says, it tells one of the guys, you're coming with me to the hospital. Let's hear what the doctor has to say, and we'll figure out what's going on here. So state police show up. Fish and Game is there in case he's actually a halibut. You never know.
In case this is a hunting issue.
Hold on. He could be a moose now. Until I see proof of documentation that he's not a moose, we're hanging out. I'm sorry, because it's possible.
Is he perhaps a doe?
Is he a doe? You don't know, do you? So they said that they got to collect all the statements, and they said we'll have to go up and down the road here and some of the back roads and get every license plate on all the cars that are pulled over to go in the woods so he can talk to these people and hopefully find and see whose gun did this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, man, it seems like a real pain in the ass. So they're telling everybody to take pictures of the scene to try to figure it out.
Yeah.
And they're looking around the bulldozer. They can't find the bullet anywhere. Yeah. So they search the interior of the ambulance thinking maybe it fell out of him on the way to the there. But no, it looks like a through and through because he was bleeding out the back. So they can't find the bullet anywhere. They're searching all over the property for this bullet, and they cannot find it. And that's the only way they could possibly match this to anything is that. So they said, who knows? So they're like, well, who could have done this? They didn't know if it was on purpose, an accident. Then they get one cop shows up to the hospital, and he said, a friend of the victims came to the scene before he was transported. Guy's name is Bobby Doob. He said that the victim had some problems with his girlfriend's sons. So they're like, well, that's something to look into anyway. That's when the other cop goes, actually, I responded to a call a couple months ago in August about an intoxicated woman that was at Danny's house, and he called to have her removed. So when the cop arrived, he found Danny outside with a bloody nose and nobody else there.
Oh, he got punched in the face.
Yeah, and Danny had told him, I just got into a fist fight with this guy because he thinks I'm using his mother. She's inside drunk, and I want her out of my house. So that was Ruth in there. Yeah. Ruth had moved into his house in June of 1985. So, and then by August, he has a bloody nose, and she's drunk, and the cops are there. So that says a lot.
How do you get in a fight with your mom's boyfriend when she's financing the place you're staying at, and she's staying with a guy who's very capable of taking care of her? Shouldn't you just be thrilled?
I don't. Well, he's mean to them though, and he thinks that they think that he's just using. They don't like him. I mean, I get it. Yeah. You're a teenage boy, some fucking scumbag. You're going to be extra picky about anybody who's going out with your mom at that point.
Yeah, I guess.
So there was another time when, this whole thing started with Danny. I guess Mark was rummaging around the workshop, the middle child there. And he said, where's your brother? Meaning the younger one that he likes, that Danny actually likes.
Where's the good kid?
Yeah. And he said, well, he's home. I didn't take him. And so Danny told Mark to get out. And Mark didn't. He kept doing what he was doing. So then they argued and called each other names and went back and forth until Danny finally got him to leave, okay? Yeah. So 2 weeks later, Vincent called Mark and the brothers and asked him to go to Danny's house to pick up their little brother, Hal. So Ruth was there, but she was drunk, so they had to go pick up the little brother. So Mark pulled into the driveway and honked for Hal, hoping that Hal would just come out and get in. Right. But instead, Danny was there, and Danny said, hey, asshole. That's what he said to Mark. He starts out talking to a teenager that's not even his. Hey, asshole. Hey, asshole, before you leave, put the goddamn lug nuts on your mother's car. And he waved a fist at him. And Mark thought he was drunk, too. He figured they were both in there drinking. So Mark told him, and this is an eloquent response, kiss my ass was the response back. So it's a real intellectual back and forth at this point. It's a battle of wits right now.
Diplomatic conversation.
It's a battle of wits. Hey, asshole, kiss my ass. Perfect. So then here comes Ruth stumbling out, staggering, tripping over herself, drunk, says, Mark, will you go to the store and get me some more Daniel Boone? Does she mean Boone's Farm?
I hope so.
I think she means Boone's Farm. Or maybe there's a cheaper one named Daniel Boone. I'm not sure. But it's booze. And he said, what? He didn't want to do this. He didn't want to have to, A, do it, but B, come back here and deal with fucking Danny again. But he says, all right, fine, I'll do it. So at this point, he says, I'll do it. But before he can pull out, Danny comes up and through the open driver's window punches Mark in the face.
Oh, what the fuck, Danny?
Drills him. Danny tries to get his door, or Mark tries to get the door open, but Danny won't. Danny's pushing up against it with his foot, and he won't let him. Let him get out. So Danny hits him like 4 more times in the face, knocking his glasses off, just working a 16-year-old over.
Who's about to go buy booze illegally for his mother.
For you, yeah. Ruth yelled at both of them, trying to get Danny away from the car. And when he finally backs off, Mark gets out of the car and fucking attacks Danny and punches him in the nose. So that's how he got the bloody nose. And he's bleeding all over the place. Danny grabbed Mark's car keys then and threw them into the tall grass.
All right.
And said, I'm going to teach your kid a lesson, to Ruth. So, yeah, this is a goddamn mess.
His dad's around. You don't need to teach him anything.
No, and either way, you're not teaching him shit.
No.
You're at a war with this kid.
You're making it worse.
Danny ended up with a broken nose, and he called the police, but didn't end up filing anything against Mark. He just wanted them to throw drunken Ruth out of his house. Okay. That's it. So she left. They broke up, and about a month later, they started dating again. Yeah. This is a mess. This is a fucking mess. Why would you date a guy that did that to your kid?
Yeah, it's not going to stop.
No. So back to modern day, he's at the hospital, and he ends up dying at the hospital. Danny does.
Oh, Danny.
From his gunshot wound. Now, his brother Victor shows up. His brother Victor is a real gruff, giant biker.
Hell yeah.
Okay, and he's saying, just where's my goddamn brother? Show him to me. He says, fucking, I've seen death before. I know what I'm doing
tough.
here.
Yeah.
I'm good. And he also says, oh, by the way, the prosecutor is there. Like, this is a small town. Everybody's at the hospital because this is nobody knows what happened. So he asked the prosecutor, he says, you must know Kathy McGuire. And she said, yeah, the assistant attorney general, McGuire. He's assigned to the homicide unit. Mm-hmm. And Victor points to his brother and goes, oh, well, yeah, that's her ex-brother-in-law right here, meaning Danny.
Shit. Yeah.
So, yeah, he's
my ex-wife. Yeah.
No, not his ex-wife. Danny's ex-wife's sister.
Got it.
Yeah, it's Danny's ex-wife's sister.
Danny was married to her sister?
Married to the assistant attorney general's of the homicide unit's sister. So that's how that went. Yeah, she came from an upstanding family, and Danny tried to ruin it. So the autopsy says that when Danny was shot in the chest, the bullet exited out of his left shoulder above the entry wound. Uh-huh. So presuming that he was standing up straight when he was shot, the bullet was traveling on an incline on its way out of the body, obviously. So you can tell angles. And they do something really clever with GPS and shit later on that I can't wait to get to. Okay. The angle was steep. It was approximately a 30-degree trajectory here. So that's steep. You know what I mean? And they said the trajectory would have been like a football punt. Like, that's how it came through, which is very weird.
It came from the dirt.
Yeah, a straighter path through Danny's chest would have bored the bullet into the house across the street the way he was hit, and it wasn't across the street because they searched every possible angle of where the bullet could have ended up, the track of everything here. So they said the way the exit wound was made it look like the slug had maybe shot. Like it was shot like a circus cannon through him, like up in the air. So they said the bullet too. It's a smaller bullet that could have come down anywhere in town that's covered with woods and wetlands. It's a fucking you're not going to find this bullet. Could be anywhere. So and it's the first day of hunting season, so it's not going to be the only bullet in the woods.
There's going to be bullets everywhere. Yeah.
Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you about a healthy, delicious item, Hero Bread. And we're both trying to get healthier this new year. Jimmy had a eye-opening doctor's appointment and things like that. So we're trying to get healthier, and I'm telling you right now, this Hero Bread is a good step in this direction. It's delicious, and it is really good for you, and it's really excellent. They have the sliced bread is good, the bagels, the tortillas. I know you've been
they're terrific.
Ranting about the tortillas. They're so good. With Hero Bread, you can focus on your health goals and still indulge in the soft, fluffy experience you love, but guilt-free. I really love the little Hawaiian rolls, too.
Yeah.
They're so good. They're so good. The Hawaiian rolls, they're legit. They're fluffy. Yeah. They're exactly how you want them to be. You'd never know it's low-carb and high-fiber bread from the texture. You get the soft, fluffy experience you know and love with your savory breakfast sandwich, late-night grilled cheese, Taco Tuesday. Do it. Yeah. No compromises, just flavor, ultra-low net carbs, 0 grams of sugar, high in fiber. It's fantastic. Hero Bread is offering 10% off your order. Go to hero.co and use the code SmallTownMurder at checkout. That's SmallTownMurder at HERO.co.
And now back to the show.
Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show and tell you all sorts of good stuff about Chime. That's what I'm talking about. There's so many extra fees you have to pay in life. Everything. You go to the airline, there's an extra ticket on that. There's extra fee on every fees and fees, hotels, fees, all this type of stuff. We're trying to make progress, and the next thing you know, here comes another fee coming at you, and it's more money than you expected, and your whole math is thrown off, and it's awful. Learn more at chime.com/smalltownmurder. Chime is great with that stuff. I mean, you can't beat if your things are a little tight, especially around the holidays or after the holidays. Yeah. You need that money a couple days early, or you go grocery shopping. You got a car payment due. There's so many things that don't cross over exactly how you want them to cross over. Make progress toward a better financial future with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/smalltownmurder. That's chime.com/smalltownmurder. Feels like progress. Banking services and debit cards provided by Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A., members FDIC. Spot me eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members enrolled in Spot Me and are subject to monthly limits. Timing depends on submission of payment file. Fees apply at out-of-network ATMs.
And now back to the show.
So, anyway, Danny, or Victor, is in the hospital with Danny, and he says, show me the body. I want to fucking see him right now. So they end up doing it. They show it to him. It's a single shot in the center of his torso, right in the middle of the chest, too.
Really?
Dead,
right in the sternum.
Dead center. Like if you had a target, like at a target range, that's where it would be.
Wow.
And Victor says, show me the back. So they propped him up and showed him the exit wound and that it was higher up and all that kind of shit. And that's when Victor says, who's this? There's another woman there. And she says, I'm with the Attorney General's office. We prosecute homicides in the state. And he laughed at her and he said, the Attorney General doesn't prosecute homicides. You bury them.
Oh.
What's he talking about?
Who is this guy?
What do you mean bury them? Well, let's go back to February 3rd, 1964 and find out why Victor's so angry with the Attorney General's office and saying they don't prosecute homicides. Okay. February 3rd, 1964, normal day on the Paquette farm here. Danny's 15 years old. It's the only people home are young Danny, 15 years old. It's a morning time before school, and his mom, Rena. Okay. That's it. The only people there, okay? Rena is 52 years old at the time. Yeah. So that day, the pigsty catches on fire. Okay, we'll talk about all of this. Her husband, Arthur, told police later on that she had prepared him breakfast, and then he leaves home like before daybreak to go to his job, and then he has the dairy farm shit to do later too. So he did that, and I guess Danny woke up and realized that he was already late for school and said his mother hadn't woken him up. So couldn't find her, looked all around the house and couldn't find her, so he called the police. Because he didn't know what else to do. Yeah. Which it's weird. In 1964, you wake up, you can't find your mom around the house. Do you call the police?
I don't know. I probably just get ready. I get ready for school and I leave.
Yeah, I'd call every relative. If they said they don't know, I'd go, I guess she had shit to do. And then you know what I mean? Like, if I was 15, I don't know what my parents do. Fuck do I care?
This afternoon.
I'd be like, sweet, now I can whack off in the house in peace. Mom's not here. If you're 15, that's what you'd be thinking, you know?
Now I can tug before I go to work.
Yeah,
go to school,
sweet.
Whatever.
This is going to be a nice, relaxed day at school today. So he called
real sleepy in first period.
Yeah. So his uncle shows up because he had called his uncle too, and his uncle is his uncle's an off-duty Manchester police officer.
Yeah.
They're looking around the property for her. Maybe she's somewhere on the property. Maybe there was a problem with one of the animals and she had to go deal with it. You know, it's a fucking dairy farm. So they go back into the woods. It's a very deep property. It starts in the town and it goes all the way. It connects to like another town. That's how big their property is. It goes back. It was at 4484 South Brown Avenue. And it's in Manchester, but it extends into Londonderry. So what they find is a half mile deep in the woods is a wooden shack that's used as a pigsty.
Okay.
That sounds, imagine how creepy that is. That's a setting for a horror movie. A pigsty a half mile deep in the woods. Holy shit.
Yeah, that's where murderers put their their mob figures put the guys that didn't pay them. That's just
in there.
Yeah.
And tie them to a chair.
Used to be in there and now they are pig shit.
So in this deep in the woods, the shack is the fields around are snow covered, but It's all snow-covered except the shack has been burned irreparably. It's burned to shit. They look inside the burned-out shack, and they find Rena in there.
Oh, God.
She is charred completely. Even though it's snow everywhere, the only thing they can find that she's wearing is a pair of loafers, and they later on find that she was wearing a very light dress, which is weird because it was November and it was snow on the ground.
Yeah.
So it was very odd. They said she died sometime after 6:30 a.m. Because of the time when she cooked breakfast and for other reasons here. Much of her clothing had been burned. They said she did have a dress on at some point, but it wasn't anything heavy enough to be a half-mile deep in the woods on a snowy day. Right. And with loafers on, you'd wear your boots to go out there, trudge through the snow. You just do. You don't put loafers on to go trudge a half-mile through the woods in the snow.
You're going to put jeans on and a heavy coat,
You're definitely going to put boots on because otherwise you're going to have snow in your shoes and frozen feet. That's a problem there. So... they do what they call a full investigation. Her family says she's been murdered out here, obviously. But after a minute here, they end up ruling it a suicide by cremation.
What?
They said she burned herself to death.
Self-immolated in a pigsty.
Yeah. They didn't say she shot herself or then or she took like cyanide and then did none of that shit. She just went in there and decided to set herself on fire in a pigsty after trudging through the woods in loafers and a light dress.
Well, obviously, because she's trying to either give herself the flu or kill herself.
Well, the official word here, and this is fucking amazing. The official word they come out, and this is in the newspaper here. This is I can't even believe this. Attorney General William Maynard announced yesterday the death of 52-year-old mother of 5 had been ruled a suicide by cremation. He said Mrs. Paquette was known to have been despondent over the assassination of President Kennedy.
What?
And the mysterious murder of a 14-year-old girl in the area. Okay, now this is where it gets weird. Apparently, the husband says she wasn't despondent at all. She acted no differently over the president's assassination than anyone else. Everybody was sad, he said. For fuck's sake. We're fine, though. She wasn't going to burn herself alive for it. She's not a fucking monk. What are we talking about? He said, quote, "She was no sadder than me. When Kennedy was killed, everybody felt bad." That's his quote.
Yeah. How do you go from murdered woman clearly has to have been suicide because she would have been upset about a 14. How do you not go 14-year-old murdered and this woman? We've got a serial killer. Well, that's what I would say.
This is what gets worse. The family says that he feels that his wife, he feels that his wife was on the path of the unsolved murder of Pamela Mason that just happened 2 weeks earlier. It happened like 2.5 weeks earlier, and they said that she had submitted several leads and ideas to police in hopes of helping with the investigation. She's been like doing amateur sleuthing and shit. So they said that, and the Attorney General confirmed that she had given several suspicions to the authorities, and they were, quote, thoroughly checked and discounted, is what they said. But the Paquette family points to several oddities in the death, saying, first of all, we think it's connected to the kid. Number one, we think someone was trying to shut her up. And number two, no matter what it was, it definitely wasn't her killing herself out there. They said among the things, here are the main points, there's no fuel container from which she could have come the flammable liquid. They didn't find like a can of gas or kerosene or anything on the scene. So
I thought she just like brought fuel in her pockets.
Yeah, she had it just in her hand, pulled up like a little thing of water, and walked out there and then splashed it on her face and burned the whole place down. Or they're saying that she doused herself in gasoline and then walked through the freezing cold woods for half a mile with loafers on and then set herself on fire.
She really kicked her own ass.
Yeah, so that's... You kind of need to, it needs to be there. You know what I mean? I'm not buying that. And the fact that her body was not found in a position which would indicate she suffered any pain from the burning, indicating that she was probably dead before she was burned, and the burning was there just to cover up whatever the fuck somebody did to her. So the fact that she would not have gone to the pig pen so lightly dressed, all she had was a light dress and loafers. So the family's like, it's a total load of bullshit. That's it. And the family, though, on the other hand, especially the husband here, he says, Arthur says that the ruling is impossible of cremation by suicide cremation. He says, I still think she was murdered and that her death was definitely connected with the Pamela Mason case.
Yeah.
Who's Pamela Mason?
Logical as fuck. Yeah, who is that?
Pamela Mason disappeared January 13th, 1964. So this is February 5th that happened. So, not very long a distance. She wasn't found till January 21st. So she's only been found. Her body was been found for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Now, the official, the Attorney General said that there doesn't appear to be any connection in Rena's and Pamela Mason's death. Pamela Mason, 14-year-old girl, whose body was discovered on January 21st lying face down in a ditch next to a highway.
Jesus.
There was snow everywhere, but underneath her, there wasn't any snow, meaning that she'd been there a while. She's been there like a week. Yeah, the whole time. She'd been shot twice, stabbed repeatedly, had her throat cut, and was raped as well.
Boy, did they not like her.
I mean, this is fucking horrible. She was that is disgustingly fucking horrible, and left her in a ditch face down. That's, oh my God.
Too much.
She'd been last seen January 13th when she entered an automobile in front of her house to go to a babysitting job with an unidentified man.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Her blouse was ripped. Her bra and underwear were missing. So missing means someone souvenired those fucking. That's disgusting. Her school books and exam papers were scattered in the snow all around her as well. Somebody just was dumped her and was like, here's all your shit too. You know what I mean? Fucking horrible. A bakery truck driver named George Charland, he was the one who found it because he saw a handbag in the snow as he drove along Route 93, and then he saw school books and papers which had blown in the wind a little bit, so he followed those to the body. Yeah, and they said that the parents said a stranger picked her up at her house to go to a babysitting job. She's an honor student. She's a freshman in high school. She had put up an ad in a local laundromat for babysitting, that she's trying to babysit. She's just trying to make some money. I mean, every kid did that back then. That was, you don't expect to be murdered here. So she had posted her name and telephone number on a jobs wanted bulletin board there in Manchester at the laundry, and saying she was available for babysitting. And they said, police said the man who took her away telephoned her and offered her, to come babysit for him, and that's what they did. Her mother told police that the man inquired about Pamela taking a babysitting job on January 13th. She gave an address. The guy gave an address on Swan Avenue near their home, and the address turns out to be non-existent.
Jesus.
So, yeah, you could just Google that now, but back then you couldn't. Her mother said that her daughter could take the job only if the man's wife accompanied him in the car to pick her up. But she said that she left for work as a waitress that night before her daughter got picked up, so she doesn't know if there was anybody else in the car. The telephone number he gave also to the mother was also false. Yeah. So everything false. So, yeah, shot twice in the head, stabbed 4 times, throat slashed. Fucking horrible, man. Absolutely horrible. The area was searched, obviously looking for anything, but it was difficult because a foot of snow had come since the time she was dumped and the time of now. So there's snow on top of everything that possibly would have been there. And at the same time, they said this slaying is exactly, and they say exactly, like the slaying of Sandra Velati, who was 18 years old and vanished exactly the same way from a bus near Manchester and was found mutilated. I'm talking shot, stabbed 4 times, throat cut, raped, exactly the same way.
Oh, my God.
In 1960, right here. Okay, so now the Attorney General, though, told a news conference that after exhaustive investigation by police and medical examiners, they have convinced the authorities that Rena has definitely taken her own life and definitely wasn't murdered. Danny's mom. He says no one to this date has any information which would indicate foul play. If anyone has some information indicating foul play, I'd be happy to see it and have it thoroughly investigated. And if evidence warrants, I will take appropriate action, including requesting a medical referee inquest or even going before the Rockingham grand jury. It's regrettable that those who have less information than I have or no information at all are prone to criticize the official conclusion. Wait till it gets even better. He also said that it was a false report saying the woman's body was discovered in a relaxed position, and that could lead to the conclusion that she'd been murdered before. He said it would be impossible from the pathological findings to find that, is what he said, which isn't really true. He also said the specific details of Mrs. Paquette's death, are, as confirmed by the autopsy, should be a personal concern of the Paquette family and not in the realm of general public information. Wow. Wait till you see 60 years from now, buddy. Then the police chief said apprehending the vicious killer responsible for the poor girl's murder, talking about Pamela Mason, is the top priority of this task force. And they talk about all of this. Then the medical examiner says about the whole thing here, Dr. Lionel Lavoie. I wonder if that's the authors related to them. I don't know. Dr. Lionel Lavoie, who is the Hillsborough County medical examiner, said this murder was similar to him of Sandra Velati. He said, quote, "I hate to admit it, but the two murders are almost identical." What are the odds in this small town that that's not the same person?
Why would you hate to admit that? Just admit that and let's fucking find the person.
This is before there was even serial killers. Back then, the idea of someone doing this multiple times all over was considered kind of like a conspiracy theory almost. Right. Like it wasn't considered real. You know what I'm saying? Because it just wasn't yet. Sandra had been shot 4 times in the head, stabbed 4 times, had her throat slashed, and had been also, quote, sexually mutilated.
Good.
So, it's also all of her clothing had been disarrayed, undergarments removed and missing, bra and underwear missing from her as well, and had her stuff scattered around her the exact same way.
Oh, boy.
That's the same person.
Yeah.
You know? So a few weeks later, a man is arrested for the murder of Pamela Mason, but they don't connect it to the Velati case at all. The charge stated that he shot her in the head with a .22 caliber rifle, stabbed her in the chest and back, cut her throat with a knife. This guy is Edward H. Coolidge is his name. Yeah. Now, we have like some lawyers that listen. If you're a lawyer, you probably know that name because this sets a major constitutional precedent as well here, this guy. Oh, yeah, this is a giant thing here. So the attorney general said they searched the laundry, which is where she put her shit up. That laundry was just bought by his parents a couple months earlier, Edward Coolidge's parents. So that's why he's in there. And the search gave rise to speculation that they believe, they told everybody started to think that she was killed in the laundromat because there's rumors flying around. It's a small town. So that gets out, and then he ends up getting arrested for it. He also had worked at the bakery where one of his coworkers is the ones that found the body. So it's on the way back and forth to the bakery. That's why he dumped her on the way to work is the theory here. He said that it's a complete shock. Everybody at the bakery said it's a shock. They didn't expect that he'd be arrested. His boss said, "There isn't much I can tell you about him. He was quiet and associated with nobody in the company, but I can say this much. He never gave the slightest indication of being the criminal type. He was a good salesman."
Except for the part where he keeps away from everybody. That guy's fucking questionable.
That part. The governor now. Governor gets involved. He says that... oh, my God. He says, "I've been critical of the attorney general on previous occasions, but in this instant presence, I think he's doing the very best he can under this great pressures and difficult circumstances. In cases like the Pamela Mason murder that cause great public concern and anxiety, it's easy to play amateur detective and to second-guess the authorities who deal with the problem firsthand."
Okay.
Yeah, okay. That's not for nothing, but most of the cold cases that get solved now aren't fucking solved by cops. It's just... Right. I mean, I get that that's a technological thing, but it happens.
And me. Come on,
come on. He said that they have to look that up. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's not like they got somebody to crack. So he says though, anybody in the public can have their opinion. They have mine, and they have theirs, and I'll have mine. Is what the governor says. So I'm like, holy shit. So anyway, he's 27 years old, bakery truck driver, former all-state high school football star, Edward Coolidge is. Yes, he is. He is arrested. He's convicted, but on a plea, okay? It's interesting, very interesting what happens to him. The case is appealed because he argued the state's attorney issued a defective search warrant by the attorney general approved it himself, not an independent judge or magistrate.
Okay.
This used to happen all the time. The attorney general would just sign the search warrant. Now you have to get a judge to do it because you need a party that's not, a party in the case. Right. You need a separate
Conflict
person.
of interest, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So this ended up going all the way to the Supreme Court who it's fucking crazy. And the conviction ends up being overturned in 1971 because of this, because there was a bad search warrant. They came in his house with no anything and just ripped it apart and they didn't even really find exactly what they were looking for. And at that point, they had no evidence at all because they had to not have anything they found in his house. So without that, they negotiated a plea bargain where he agreed to plead guilty to second-degree murder with a sentence of 19 to 25 years. Wow. So under the state law that has good behavior time, he could serve a minimum sentence of 18 years time for good behavior. Plus, since he's already served the time, basically 10 years from then he could be eligible for parole. 14 years in prison. 1978, he's eligible for parole and denied. 1982, he is paroled. Granted parole over the objections of 21,000 petitions that come into the parole office.
Yeah, because why would you take a plea like that if they have no evidence and you didn't do it?
That's the thing. Well, I mean, if they're saying, who knows, man? The parole board chairman said he was the best risk I've seen out of 600 cases.
Okay.
So my problem is, whoever did one did the other. Whoever did Velati did Pamela Mason. They didn't even bring up the Velati case after that. They were like, don't look at shiny ball here. Don't worry about that.
Look, a quarter.
We have no proof, and we're not going to give anybody closure on that one. So anyway, that's what happens to him. That ends up being a big constitutional thing. So now you have to have a judge sign for a search warrant. So that was the whole search and seizure thing that came from this, basically, this case. So 1966 now, back to Danny.
Yeah.
Mom's dead.
Yep.
Okay, mom's dead. Danny falls in love with a neighbor girl named Denise Messier, or Mazier, either one. She lives on the same street, up the street from the farm. They grew up together, played together, all that kind of shit. But now Danny digs her in a different kind of way. He's in his late teens. He's working at a hotel. He's doing his thing. And Denise, who is a year younger, also worked at the hotel as a maid. So they know empty rooms, and they're teenagers that work together and know which rooms are empty. You're going to get some. You're going to get some.
The closet is very private.
Teenage fucking is what's going to happen there. So she gets knocked up pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
It's a huge scandal. Her father's a police officer in Manchester. Her brother's like a high-ranking military officer. It's not good, basically. Yeah. It's a really big problem. And so one day, her friends were told that she wasn't staying at the house anymore, and everybody said the rumor was that she was sent away to an unwed mother's farm and gave birth to a boy. But when she came back, she didn't have a baby. So that's what they used to do. They'd do that, and then they'd adopt him. So, and her parents forbid her from ever seeing Danny again.
Danny, you fucking idiot.
So Danny's got other problems anyway. He gets drafted into the Army in 1968.
Damn it.
He's in basic training. He's been told he's going to get sent to Vietnam, and then almost last minute, he gets a change of orders that he's going to Germany instead.
Oh, okay.
Like, great. There's nobody fighting there for the last 25 fucking years. Perfect. That's way better.
Late, but better late than never.
That's way better. So during this time when he's in the Army, he dates a girl from Manchester named Stephanie, and, he's really into her. She's like a hippie type, though, which is weird because, he's different than anybody he ever went out with, basically. He got her pregnant quickly, too. Danny's very, very, very fertile here. So this time, because he was upset about what happened last time, he asks her to marry him. And she says yes, and they get married in 1969. And Danny goes over to Germany. She gives birth in New Hampshire, and they give birth to a baby girl named Jennifer. And then he ends up calling her over to live in Germany with him, basically, over there. So she ends up in Germany, and this is what she ended up saying, that he kind of scared her a little bit. He became very possessive and angry. She said, quote, "You're not allowed," that he said this, "You're not allowed to leave this apartment without me." She could go nowhere outside of his company, like his people, basically. She told friends that his behavior was impossibly bizarre, and then she ended up coming back to the United States and waiting for him to be done over there. She said, it's just too weird over here. He comes back from the Army in 1971 and tries to figure out what the hell to do with himself. One night, Stephanie's getting a bath ready for herself, and Danny walks into the bathroom, and this is according to some paperwork later on. They got into a discussion about something, and it became contentious.
Yeah.
And I guess she said, "You leave me alone, or I'll take your daughter, and you'll never see her again." Which you shouldn't say that at all, but still. He fires back with, "You fucking bitch, I'll fucking kill you," which is a good reason to not let your daughter see him again. So, thanks for making me right, asshole, you know? I felt bad about saying that till you said that back.
Stop giving me reasons.
Then he picked her up and threw her into the tub fully clothed while it was full of water. And so she sat there in the water, and she said, "This is enough of that," and they were divorced in 1971. So there was that. 1973, Denise, the one who would, the girl who he got pregnant and she went to the home and all that shit. She ends up coming back to New Hampshire at this point. She's got her own baby now, not the one she had with Danny, a different one. And she bumps into Danny, old flame, in 1973.
Yeah.
And again, boom, they hit it off. Now they're adults.
Yeah, he's
no one
a world
can tell
traveler. Guy's been to Germany, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. Well, no one can tell him what to do, or they aren't allowed to see each other. So Danny said that they'll find together. He wanted to find the son that she put up for adoption and create the family they were meant to have.
We're going to look for him.
We're going to hunt him. He's good now. You don't need to. He's, unless he's unless he's still in an orphanage somewhere or something. Yeah. He's got a family. Leave him alone. You know what I mean?
Oliver asking for more. Maybe let's grab him. But
oh, yeah, exactly. More, please. Denise ended up, because she had moved to Alaska and back and everything. So she went back to Alaska, came back. 1973, Victor walks in and sees Denise, who he hasn't seen in years, sitting there with Danny. And Danny says, "We're getting married."
Oh, God.
Victor's like, "All right, whatever." Like, you fucking crazy shits. So while Danny was in the Army, Denise had been working at Dunkin' Donuts in Manchester, because there's approximately 600 Dunkin' Donuts locations in the small city of Manchester, I'm sure.
Yeah, with a population of like 80,000.
Well, you got in the Northeast, you got to have like a 12-person to every Dunkin' Donut limit. It's like a classroom size for kids. You don't want it to be too much. You got to really put them in there.
Every time you go to Dunks, all 12 of the people that are designated to this one are there.
They're all there. Yeah, they're all there, and it's like a gas station in the back.
We're all in line waiting on our Dunks.
So they had the man she met, they had gotten together and had a child, and that child was named Melanie. That's her daughter that she brings back to New Hampshire. So Danny gets married to Denise in 1974. They have 2 more children, Carolyn and Audrey. And Danny goes to court and officially adopts Melanie as well, because he said he doesn't want her to be the only one in the family with a different last name. He doesn't want her to feel weird. Sounds nice, right? So 1978, Danny and Denise incorporate their business, Paquette Welding Incorporated, and Danny's listed as the president and secretary. Denise is the vice president and treasurer. Okay. Everything's going swimmingly until about 1980. That's when shit starts to go a little bit awry. In March of 1980, Denise takes the girls and they leave, and she wants to leave him, and she goes and looks for an apartment in Manchester. She wants a divorce. And he's not going to give her one. No. He is going to call her every day. One day he's nice. Please come back. I love you. Next day he's threatening her. Next day he's nice again. He'd show up at her job, make a scene, cry uncontrollably. That's what you want at your job. Yeah. So on one day in June of that year, Danny, I guess, busted into Denise's home and began yelling at her that he wanted his children back. He grabbed Denise and threw her on the couch, put her hand over her mouth and nose so she couldn't breathe, and was screaming at her. The kids at that point were 10, 2.5, and 10 months old, and they were all watching this.
Jesus.
So that Monday morning, Denise filed for a restraining order. Denise comes from a family that they don't do this to each other at all, so she knows I'm not taking this, basically.
Yeah, this is crazy,
Yeah, she'll push back on that. She is not like, I'm just saying, a lot of people, if you come from a shit environment, you end up subconsciously looking for shit, and then you don't react to it the way
because you don't you don't recognize dysfunction because you're used to it.
As you don't recognize it as abnormal. Exactly.
Right.
So Monday morning, she files for a restraining order. She's not fucking around. So the next day, she's driving to work, and out of nowhere, a 1951 black and white Ford pickup truck pulls alongside of her.
Yeah.
And it's Danny. And they both have their windows down, and he screams at her, "You motherfucking bitch, I swear to God, I'll kill you." Okay, now, she knew that Danny had a .45 and kept it with him a lot, so she hit the gas, took off, and lost him at a red light. She did they ended up doing like a chase, basically, and she got away from him. So that's nice. So Danny has to go to court because he broke the restraining order by threatening to kill her and calling her a motherfucking bitch. So during the court appearance, he's about as good at court as Alex Jones is, I'm telling you, because just trying to lose, it seems like. It's just not working. He seems agitated here, and the judge found that he willingly violated the restraining order and ruled that he should be held in the jail for a while here. So Danny, rather than acting contrite and, trying to get the lowest sentence possible, he instead leaps across the table, lunging for the judge's throat.
Oh, you can't get the judge. No.
You can't do that. No. That's a really good way to get a lot of time. So the bailiffs, even his attorneys went, "Holy shit, Jesus, get back here." They grabbed him. Oh, God, no. They were like, "Don't do that." So instead, now he's taken from the county jail and put in a state mental hospital.
Oh, yeah.
And committed for a term of 1 year.
Oh, now you got a year in the loon.
You got a year in the bin now. So 1985, this all, by the way, started from him. Oh, I'm sorry, 1985 is late. This is a different thing. So 1985, Denise had called the cops and sent them to where he is because he said he was going to kill himself. Mm-hmm. And that's how that ended up happening. So while in the mental hospital earlier here, while in the hospital, Denise tried to keep a low profile. She had a good job, and she just basically didn't want her ex-husband showing up, yelling and crying and acting a fucking fool and everything. One night, she gets a phone call. She's hanging out in her kitchen, eating dinner and all this shit. She gets a phone call, and the caller says that they are a caseworker from the New Hampshire hospital where Danny's being treated, okay? He said, "Listen, Danny's been here for almost a year. He's not getting any better.
He's still nuts.
He's fucking Danny. I mean, you know what he's like. So here's what I need you to do." His violent streak is kind of worse now, actually, because he's angry. He's been in here for a long time. He said, quote, "His year is almost up and we can't keep him here any longer. If I were you, I'd consider moving far away from him."
Ring, ring. Who's this? A doctor telling you to leave town.
A doctor telling you your life is in danger because I have a crazy man who can't wait to come murder you. So
and there's nothing I can do about it.
We have to let him out.
Right.
Even if he's saying even if we hear him get in a cab and give the cab driver your address, that's not our,
nothing
we
can
can't do a thing. That's on you. So 2 weeks after Danny is shot and killed, they're investigating it still. They still don't know whether it's an accident, a hunting accident. They're trying to find people that might be mad at him, and they're not. Wait till you hear. There's a lot of people that don't like Danny. This turns into Skidmore, Missouri, where you find more people that are happy he's dead than are upset about it. That's what's crazy.
That's what happens, man.
2 weeks after the shooting, the sergeant in charge of this deal, he goes to meet Melanie Paquette, his adopted daughter, at her aunt and uncle's house because her mother had taken off and left her, not in a bad way. But,
all right, she's just out of town.
The daughter said she didn't want to go back to Alaska. She's fucking staying here, and that's it. She wouldn't change her name or anything. She said, "I don't want to change my name. That's my fucking name. I've been using it my whole life. I'm keeping it." Yeah. So, Melanie's tough shit. She's good. She's not bad. She asks, the one sergeant who goes to talk to her asks a female state trooper, a plainclothes officer, to come along with because they're talking to a young girl. If there's any girl talk, I don't know how to fucking talk. I'm a police sergeant guy named Tom. I don't know how to talk to this girl. You might want to come. Melanie's 15 at that point. So they talk to her. She says, quote, "I never liked Danny. No. He was very strict and mean. He would belittle my mother." And this the whole time they said she's staring at the ground in front of her. She's won't make eye contact with anybody. She's just staring at the ground, looking kind of traumatized. So Melanie told them that Danny would just attack her mother about how the house was kept, but he would never do anything. He'd just be like, this place is a shithole, you suck, that sort of thing. Okay. I guess her mother had been held responsible for any of the, she said, housekeeping, plumbing, carpentry, electrical work. If a fuse blows, he's pissed at her for it. It's her fault.
General handyman shit is her responsibility.
She should have wired this place better, even though it's his house, which is crazy. So I guess after the divorce, she said that Danny would still pester Denise. Melanie has seen him physically abuse her, as we described one of those incidents. It got so bad that they moved to Wasilla, Alaska.
Yikes.
That's where they went. Melanie hated it there. That's why she's back here. Then they were talking, well, what was your relationship with Danny like? And at that point, she said, can I talk to her alone? Mm-hmm. That's a bad sign.
Yeah.
What was your relationship like with your stepfather? Can I talk to the woman by herself without you here?
I don't need you here. I'm about to talk about woman parts.
So the guy said, absolutely. So Melanie said that Danny had raped her repeatedly. She said that also she knows for a fact that Danny had molested another girl from the neighborhood who used to come over and play with her as a child.
What the fuck, man?
She knew about that. Yeah, and what she describes as awful. She said it started when she was 9. Fucking disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
Do ya?
So the detective, the man, he comes back in. And he's like, all good here. So they're done talking about that, and he says, okay, well, where were you when Danny died? What happened that morning? And she said she went to a field hockey game with her friend Eric from school, from the soccer team. Yeah. Melanie, by the way, is the first and only girl on the soccer team.
Wow.
Yeah,
they don't have a girls' soccer team. They just have a soccer team.
They said they didn't have enough kids to fill out a team to fill out field hockey and soccer teams, and they played at the same time. So they had to. More of the girls wanted to play field hockey, so they did a field hockey team. So if you were really into soccer and a girl, your only choice was the boys' team, so you had to be on that. And she was really good, apparently, and respected too. Not like, oh, they let her on because she's a girl. Like they were like, damn, she's good, cool, she's really good, and an honor student. She's a good girl, Melanie. So. They said, do you know anybody who would want to? Oh, they said she said she went to the field hockey game with her friend Eric that was 60 miles north of here. So she's like, I was 60 miles away at a field hockey game with my friend. So that's alibi of time, place, and another person. So it's a lot of things you can check there. They asked, would you know anybody who would want to kill Danny? And she said, not me. I don't know. I'm 15. I don't know what the hell he does with his life. I'm sure people hate him.
Yeah.
She said she didn't want to say anything about the abuse, but so much had happened to her that she wanted to forget, but she had to tell. Yeah. And she said it was horrible. He'd make her get in the fucking shower with him.
Oh, my God.
He'd climb in her bed at night. And other times she said it was just crazy behavior, never mind the sexual abuse. Things like he would rearrange all the furniture for no reason in weird ways. He would write all over the walls for no reason. He would hide in the dark and jump out to scare her. When she was little and stuff like that. Yeah, just fucking really weird. She said that Danny one time made her hang from a chin-up bar in the garage and then turn on his welder's torch, threatening to burn her if she let go.
What the fuck?
I don't know what the fuck that is. She saw him use the blowtorch to burn field mice alive as well. Why would you do that? She also cried when he threatened to do the same thing to her mother. He said, I'll do that to your mother. Also, Danny killed her cat in front of her.
With the blow? What?
And the more she cried, the louder he laughed at her, is what she said. Holy shit.
What kind of picture are we painting of Danny? He's a sociopath, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even his friend said he wants to fuck my teenage daughter. Right. He's not a good guy, it seems like.
My daughter likes him.
Or either way, but he would be like, yeah, and he would talk about how I'm dating a 15-year-old. So she said that Danny would put a pistol to her head and threaten to kill her if she told anybody about this. So, that's pretty fucking wild. She said that he would rest the nozzle of the fucking barrel of the gun on her temple and pull the trigger. So she never knew if it was loaded until she heard it click. So he was just fucking with her. This is horrible, man. And then he would tell her that it's our little secret. Ugh, disgusting. So she said that he had two personalities. She said he'd toss a ball with a kid for hours and then become angry and abusive at the drop of a hat with no problem for no reason and no warning at all. She said that the emotional abuse started at a really young age, and then that grew into physical abuse, which then grew into sexual abuse. She said that I think it was 9 when the sex started. I think it was around the time my mom left him, and the court ordered that I had to keep going back. I know he was just doing it to get back at my mom, but I never told my mom what was going on. I was too afraid. This poor girl, Jesus Christ. So Denise, they asked her, do you know anybody that would want to kill Danny? And she said, my family, number one. They'd love to kill him. It's literally what she said. Her quote is, my family. Then she said, let me tell you, Danny was a person who could make enemies so quickly. He was sharp with his remarks. He was cruel. He was running a business at home, and very often he would kick people right out of the yard, sometimes physically. He frightened me many times. One time he did it to a police officer who came to the door, took him by the shirt and shoved him right outside. He was an incredible human being. Not in a good way, by the way. Yeah. He said no fear whatsoever of repercussion, didn't even consider whether he needed to be liked. Just an asshole. Yeah. She said that she didn't learn about the extent of Danny's abuse of Melanie until after they had moved away. She said that Melanie had been near suicidal at that point, not handling it well, obviously. Right. And she had shipped Melanie back to New Hampshire to live with relatives because they had more money and they could buy her things she needed, and they offered to even put her through college. So you don't turn that down. They said, well, what about your current husband? Would he want to do this? And she said, no, he doesn't have revenge in him. He felt he could protect Melanie. He wanted to have her in counseling or get her and get through school and go to college. He's intelligent enough to know that it serves no purpose to go out and shoot someone. Fine. So they originally, like we said, interviewed Melanie on November 22nd. It was the day after Thanksgiving. On New Year's Eve, they interview her friend Eric, who is the guy who they went to the field hockey game with. And he said, I was with Melanie that morning. We went to a field hockey game about 60 miles away. Eric is like the most popular kid in school. Eric Windhurst is his name. And most popular kid in school. His parents own a shitload of land, by the way. Really? Lots of land. He's the, best guy on the soccer team. They don't have a football team here either. Not enough kids for a football team. So apparently the star of the soccer team is the sports star of the school here. So wow. He's the star of the school. He's described as a handsome, tall, and athletic. So doing just fine for himself, basically. And they said when they talked to him, he seemed relaxed and helpful, and said the same things Melanie said, and they were like, well, that's pretty easy. Not too bad. Now, Eric, they told them that the coach told him to look out for Melanie on the team. Said, look out for her. You know what I mean? Don't let any of the guys fuck with her, basically. Keep an eye on her.
No hazing.
No hazing. Hey, everybody. Just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you a little bit about Sono Bello. The most known secret with celebrities and influencers and all these famous people is so many of them have had lipo. They've had lipo, whether it's a little touch-up here or a total makeover. Yeah. Nobody has a perfect body. That's the thing. No. They may look like it on TV, but there's things that help that. Absolutely. Lipo now has changed, and Sono Bello's been at the forefront with using LAL technology and getting those beautiful and natural outcomes for each person. Looking real natural. Our friends at Sono Bello are offering their best deal. You're now included in their winter savings event, but appointments are limited, so please get on this. Sono Bello doctors are masters in micro laser fat removal, a brilliant technique that removes stubborn fat permanently wherever your problem areas are. Tummy, love handles, thighs, arms, it's gone in one comfortable visit. Eating healthy and workouts are great. Keep doing that, but if you want to lose that stubborn fat in one visit, check out Sono Bello. Save big during their winter savings event. Schedule your free consultation now at sonobello.com/smalltownmurder. That's sonobello.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you a little bit more about our stylish friends at Quince. That's right, let's go elevate your styles, people. Yeah. Get it going, look good out there, and you can do it now without breaking your wallet, without breaking the bank, because at Quince, you can get high-end, versatile pieces at prices we can all actually afford, which is very nice. You want to get good stuff that lasts and it's good, and they have quality stuff that's very affordable. And you can do like we did, upgrading our stuff here, well, still being a very reasonable price. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, responsible manufacturing practices, along with premium fabrics and finishes. It's all quality stuff. You're going to love it. Trust us, it looks good. And I've got the leather jacket. It's a very high-quality item. Real nice, soft leather. Yeah. Jimmy's got his linen pants he's rocking.
Yeah, they're terrific.
Come on, be like us. Be fashionable. Get in there with Quince. Indulge in affordable luxury. Go to quince.com/smalltownmurder for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/smalltownmurder to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
Now, she liked him for a long time. She had a crush on him the whole time, but he said to everybody that she was like a little sister to him and wasn't interested in her like that.
She
basically.
got friend-zoned.
She got friend-zoned, yeah. So, but really they were like best friends.
Yeah.
You know, they hung out all the time. But anyway, they're really nice and they're really good together and all that kind of shit. He said, I got friendly with Melanie because she plays soccer with me. And he was even telling the cops, yeah, first girl to do it. We don't have a girls team. So it was really awesome. He said they weren't dating, but you know, he'd invited her to come to the high school field hockey championship, and he said he picked her up at 9 a.m. at her aunt's house, drove her to the game, left when the game was over at noon. They stopped in Concord to get burgers at McDonald's, and he dropped her off at 2 p.m. Okay. So 9 to 2 is, I mean, he got killed at about 11:30, like right in the middle of that. So there's, you know, that was it. And then she, the next day, packed up and went on a school trip to Canada with her French class.
Yeah.
So the cops just left their business card, and they left a note in the report. The above information is substantially the same as given by Melanie Paquette when she was interviewed. So their stories check out. Everything's fine. Windhurst said that Melanie had told him that she confided in a school counselor that Daniel had molested her years earlier, though. She worried Melanie had told Eric that Melanie was worried that Danny would find out that she was told somebody about it and kill her, basically. Mm-hmm. So that's how it works. He also said that it was really hard to hear. Eric said what the hell this guy did to her and everything. It was terrible. Eric's mother was it was known as like the town nutcase, by the way. She was the sole heir of land baron John Shackford Kimball, who in the 19th century began a legacy of purchases and developments that would shape the very town of Hopkinton. That's from the book. So that tells you that. They had the Kimball Campbells. They had a huge tract of land. They had all this fucking land all over town. They're known as like not rich, but land rich. If they sold all their holdings, they'd have a shitload of money.
Right.
But they don't have... Yeah.
In the event of a rainy day, we can sell off acreage and be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Eric likes he's got an older brother named Trapper.
Really?
Trapper Keeper. Yeah, and Trapper. I guess they're big hunters, I guess.
Big fans of the jerky.
He idolizes his older brother. He said him and Melanie were like brother and sister, you know, everything like that. Yeah. So January 1st, 1986. This is a little bit after the shooting. New Year's Day, Eric goes over to Trapper's house and knocks on the door. And, they open the door. Eric says hi all the time. And he stands just in the doorway for some reason. Usually he comes in, sits down, gets a drink. And Trapper's like, what's going on? What's up? And, and Martha, the wife, is sitting right there. And Eric says, I have something to tell you. And they were like, okay. And he said, remember that guy in Hooksett who got shot, Danny Paquette, Melanie's stepdad? And he goes, yeah, I remember that case. And Eric goes, well, I did it.
Oh.
Yeah. He said, I did it. It was me. I was the one who fucking did it. He said that, sorry, I did it, but I had to. Eric's known as like a nice guy, but a little bit of a loose cannon. At one point, there was a party in the woods, and some girl brought a guy he didn't like, so he pulled a shotgun on them and made them leave. So it's kind of a weird guy, Eric. Okay. You know what I mean? Put it right in her face. And he, like we said, he's questioned the whole deal, but they don't suspect him at all. And he says, oh, yeah, that was me. He tells his brother Trapper. So very interesting. Now, police are clueless to this, obviously. This is January 1st, 1986. They're looking at all sorts of different things. They don't even consider him a suspect. And we don't know if he's telling the truth. So they think maybe it was a hunting accident. Then Victor, here are all the theories. Hunting accident. Victor also told the cops, quote, the brother, because he's like a biker, he said, I think that someone might have mistook my brother for me and killed the wrong guy.
Okay.
So now it's like, well, he's the one who goes out and does shit and has a lot of enemies. That's what he's saying. He knows I'm always over there. They could have thought it was me. He's got a mask on and overalls.
Yeah, good point.
So they're like, they could have very easily thought it was me. He said, I'm currently screwing. They said, why do you say that? He said, quote, I'm currently screwing a married woman from Manchester. And if her husband found out, he could have learned that I'm a welder. They said, go on. If he found that out, he might have looked up Paquette Welding in the phone book. And if he did that, he would have come to my brother's house and shot the wrong guy. This is logical.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, if you're a biker fucking some other biker's wife, he's going to come shoot you.
Is it a
It's
biker?
clear.
Is it a biker's wife, or is it just some dude's wife?
It's some guy who he's afraid would come and shoot
Good
him,
point,
so
yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
You know what I
He's
mean?
thought
I don't know.
about, this guy might want to hurt me.
Yeah, it's probably not a judge's wife, I don't know, maybe. So they said, all right, well, now they also have to worry about everybody Victor's ever pissed off. And he's been around, so that could
Seems
be
like
anybody.
Those people could be numerous.
A lot, yeah. So they were like, shit, this is fucking crazy. And they still couldn't find the goddamn bullet, by the way.
No bullet still.
They're still looking. They looked all over the place, everywhere. The only piece of evidence that comes forward that they think is huge is it turns out there was a man. This is crazy because nowadays, everything's on camera.
Yeah.
Even there's drones all over the place. But back then, nothing was, especially in the middle of the woods, unless there was some guy out with a hot air balloon videotaping from the sky.
Stop.
And there was.
Like
there was a fucking man.
A 1985 drone.
Exactly. It's an 80s drone. An 80s drone was in the air where the man with a giant VHS recorder pointed at the ground. Imagine if he dropped that, he would have killed 12 people. That thing's weighed 40 pounds.
And if he misses anybody, it's going into the earth.
Yeah, deep.
Yeah.
So he's flying over this exact spot when this happens and has video footage of it.
Wow.
How
The
crazy.
luck.
What are the odds of that? So it's wild. At 11 a.m., he had been drifting over the house, right at the same time as the shot. Like, Christ, did it come from the sky?
Shocking.
So if the shot didn't come up, at an angle up, I'd say maybe he did it. So they said they searched every frame of the tape, hoping the camera could find something, and it's just shitty quality, and they couldn't get anything. Somebody with a weapon, a car out of place, something where something wasn't supposed to be. But turns out hot air balloon guy was useless. Shit video.
Yeah.
So then they have another suspect. Monday morning after the shooting, 48 hours later, a man named Nicholas Johnson walked into the Riley's Gun and Ammo shop. And he walks in and he places a 30-06 rifle and a box of ammunition on the counter.
Uh-huh.
And he says, I want to return this gun. And the clerk said, what's wrong with it? And he said, nothing's wrong. I've been thinking about getting rid of this gun since Danny Paquette died. It just doesn't seem right to have it.
Oh.
And the guy thought it was really weird. And then he talked to the guy, and the guy said he'd been out shooting on the day of the incident. And they said that they looked at the slip, and the receipt said he had bought the gun 2 weeks earlier, and he checked the box of ammo, and 3 rounds were missing.
Just 3?
Yeah, so they're like, is this the fucking murder weapon?
Yeah.
Did this guy just try to return the murder weapon to the store? That's a bold move. So the clerk calls the police, who they look into his background. Turns out this guy lives at a spiritual commune tucked away in the backwoods.
Okay.
He believes in holistic health through sauna, massage, and acupuncture.
Yeah.
And they said, why'd you want to return the rifle? And he said, quote, it didn't seem right to have it, not after Danny died. And they said, the death has affected you? And he said, oh, yes, I've been very sad ever since. And he just didn't want any part of having guns anymore.
Yeah.
And he's had mutual friends with Danny Paquette. That's why. So he was sad, and he thought it was wrong to have a gun and harm things. So not that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now they get tips. Tips come in. They have a Crime Stopper line. They have a $1,000 reward. Uh-huh. Tips come in. One caller said a biker named Jimma, Jimma,
Yeah.
Jimma Bolduc, Bolduc, was behind the shooting. Another called to say that one of Danny's ex-girlfriends had married a known drug user and burglar who bragged about being contracted to kill someone. And then another tip said that Danny had been dating a 16-year-old girl from Manchester who had a brother in the U.S. Marines, and the brother and sister had conspired to shoot him. That seems possible.
That seems closest, yeah.
Oh, yeah, out of all of those, that seems the closest probably out of anything there, because I'm sorry, that'll make you want to shoot somebody.
For sure.
Yeah. So I don't know why I said I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. You know what? I'm not even sorry. I don't like child molesters. I'm going to say it. I'm going to come out. I'm going to have the balls to say it. Some people sit there, they'll hem and haw.
It's about
not
time.
Me.
Yeah.
Me and Jimmy, no, we'll come out. We'll come out and we'll say it. We don't think it's right to molest children, and you shouldn't fucking touch them, and you should leave them the fuck alone. Yeah, I get it. Bold statement, but we're going to make it.
And you shouldn't
That's
have
what we do
to,
on this show.
You shouldn't be forced to be around it.
That's right, goddammit. That's what we do on this show. We're taking the hard stances, everybody.
Social
Jesus
justice.
fucking Christ, man. So, good God, when they searched Danny's home for clues as to why somebody might target him, they found his little black book. They found at least 60 numbers in there, a few family, some business associates, mostly women, a lot of them married women in the area. And women, when they were called to ask about Danny, pretended not to know him.
Oh.
So women he was fucking is what it is. Married
absolutely.
women. This was his married woman book. So how many possible suspects do we have now?
Way too many.
Way too many for this guy. Finally, a utility guy. The phone's been out. So there's some utility guy goes and he's got to climb a pole and he's got this. He finds something lodged in a phone cable, a thick phone cable. Turns out to be the goddamn bullet they're looking for.
Wow. It hit the phone cable.
Hit the phone cable out way down the street from the property. This is like, down the street.
Do you know how fucking small that's unbelievable.
Yeah. Severed the phone cable. This is like the immaculate shots, the magic bullet. It went through his chest perfectly, killed him, and then went over to sever a phone cable. That's
shocking.
Impressive. So, he calls the police, and they have also the bullets covered in white and red material, and determined that the white material was bone fragment consistent with the wound on Danny.
It took bone fragment with it
down the street
into a phone cable
and blood.
Shocking. What the fuck?
And the bullet's in great shape too, because the cable preserved it rather than it going into something harder that would have flattened it. So they have all the striations and they can check it out. It's a 270 caliber. What's that?
.27?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never heard of that.
Well, either way. Well, I think we'll get into that in a minute here, if I'm not mistaken. So now there's no DNA test at the time to prove that it's Danny's blood, but they know that. So they're going around. This doesn't help because now there's just more people they have to figure out because every time they talk to anybody, they get 10 more suspects. So they're like, what do we fucking do? It's growing, right? What you do is you start out with a big pool and then you narrow it down. They have every time they talk to people, it fucking grows exponentially. It's like, well, here's 5 more people that hate him, and here's why. And, well, those are all reasonable reasons for hating him. So another neighbor of Danny's described him as cold and someone who never gave her the time of day. The woman said she'd been friendly with Danny's ex-wife, Denise, before she left, and that's probably why. The woman said there were rumors that Danny had molested one of the daughters, which is why Denise had taken off. So even the neighbors know it. Everybody knows. The Hooksett Police Department sergeant, he was told that Danny had been dating a teenage girl at the same time he dated Ruth, which we know is true from Duarte because he told him the same thing. They didn't know the girl's name. That was probably Duarte who said this. We don't know. I don't know that for a fact. That's alleged. But they didn't know the informant didn't know the girl's name, only that she was someone from the neighborhood. The man had seen her at Danny's. She had blonde hair and glasses and was even younger than the 16-year-old girl whose brother was in the Marine Corps fucking. So he had many young girls he was fucking from the neighborhood.
He's in his 30s?
He's in his 36, Jimmy.
Jesus
36.
Christ, man.
His barber had a story. A barber, yeah. The police sergeant stopped in for a haircut at Roy's Barber Shop in North Manchester here. And the barber, who's an old guy, mentioned to the cop that he knew Danny Paquette, too. He said Danny had told him that he was sleeping with a husband, with a woman in the city who had a rich husband. Now he's not more. It's. I mean, you can't even go get a haircut without getting 3 more suspects for this fucking guy. Like, oh Jesus, stop talking to me. Everyone, just stop with the suspects. There's too many leads.
How is Danny fucking so many people?
He's fucking everybody.
Everybody.
This is crazy. This is nuts, man. So the sergeant returned to Hooksett there and then heard from another neighbor and said that Danny had recently visited him and he had 2 black eyes. This was after he got his nose broken by the kid there. So Danny came over because his neighbor was a martial arts instructor. Danny had asked if he could teach him some techniques. Danny said, you know the fight I had? Well, it ain't over. They're coming back. That's what he told him. So he was expecting more combat. So now they're like, great, let's add the kids into this fucking mix now. Holy shit. Also, there was somebody else. One of his friends, because they were asking friends of his that were cleared totally if they could make sense of this black book. Do you know any of these people? Because they deny knowing him. So one of the people in the black book, or one of his friends pointed out that one of the listings in the black book had been of somebody. Danny had been in a motorcycle accident in about 1982, and the woman who'd been riding on the back had been killed.
Oh, boy.
Her family, and that woman's brother-in-law especially, held Danny responsible and was running around town threatening to kill him constantly. So there are how many dangerous people? Bikers, drug dealers, angry husbands, angry ex-husbands, angry parents, angry brothers, angry Marines, angry bikers. It never ends with this fucking guy. It's like Skidmore. This is like worse. Skidmore light over here. Yeah, it is worse. He wasn't molesting kids, was he?
No,
I don't think he was. Was he? McElroy? I can't remember now.
Right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, he just would take them and marry them when they were 15. Yeah, it's crazy. So
you're right. That one is worse.
it's bad. So Danny's cleaning lady now gets into the mix.
Oh God.
She said that she wouldn't come to the house unless her sister or mother came with her. She said Danny would proposition her while she cleaned up. And she said that the offers weren't threatening or overbearing, and they never came with, like, he never grabbed her or anything. But she said there was something in his manner that disturbed her. Yep. And but she said her brother-in-law was a friend of Danny's, so she didn't want to drop him as a client and get into it with there. So she just brings somebody with her. She also reported that a biker named Jim Balduke, again the same guy, had a grudge against Victor, the brother.
Right.
And that was the same name that a crime line caller gave too. So now he's in the mix. One of the guys said, the police guy said, there seems to be no end to the list of solid suspects. An embezzler, biker gangs, teenage lovers, any number of jealous husbands, boyfriends, or fathers, and a drug-dealing hippie. He said, or somebody we've even yet to look at. Like, we have no utter fucking, or it could be a hunting accident. Yeah. That's literally where we're at. We have no idea what happened here.
It could be completely innocent or the most psychotic shit you've ever heard.
Planned. This could be 20 people all at once sitting around a monitor watching. Good, he got him. Okay, like when they killed Bin Laden or something. You know what I mean?
There's a war room somewhere.
Somewhere, people are watching. So they said, right now, we'd favor none over the rest. We'll see where the evidence leads. So they have no idea, is what that said. Then Unsolved Mysteries did a thing on him as well. Yeah. At this point, on Danny's death. He said, I saw the tape of the Unsolved Mysteries show, and they said, what's the likelihood it's connected to the mother's death in the 1960s? And the cop said, none, it's bunk. We never believed that for a second. Do you think Danny killed his mom?
I
think Danny killed his mom.
I think possible.
Danny, that's obviously not positive. It's alleged, whatever, but it's okay. He's whole
the only
history.
One there.
He's the only one there.
Yeah.
No one's around. It seems like if something happened, carried her out there, burned her, somebody took the can away. I mean, it could be a random thing that happened, but a random thing on a farm, it seems much more likely that it's the only kid that's there.
Yeah. And there's nothing that's there that carries an accelerant? Nothing?
Nothing around. No, nothing in there that carries it at all, that you could carry.
Somebody took that out. They had
That's
to.
what I mean. She had to have been murdered. She didn't burn herself. Nobody burns themselves alive. They just don't. That's not how suicide works. It's not a normal thing. I've never heard of that.
In a random pigsty out in the woods? No.
Yeah. Other than like a monk who's making a political statement, I don't imagine just people going, I'm going to burn myself alive in the pigsty. There's way less painful ways to go out.
And even when he does that, he leaves the jerry can sitting next to him out there in the field.
You can find
it. Right there, yeah.
Because it'd be impossible for him to clear it. That's
he
why.
He can't throw it away after.
No. So that's what I mean. judging by his history after that, tortures animals, molests children, mean to just be the fucking sake of mean. That sounds like the profile of a 15-year-old who would kill and burn his mother, doesn't it? Just to me, it does. I mean, I'm just saying. They never found anybody.
It's way more suspicious than not.
That's what I mean. Knowing who he is now, and back then they just were like, well, must have burned alive. There was no forensics. They didn't fucking know. Who knows?
This poor lady spontaneously combusted.
Yeah. So they asked, could it have been an accidental shooting? And the one cop says, unfortunately, we've never been able to disprove that, so we have to leave that on the table as a possibility. We know there were men shooting target practice in the direction the bullet came from. And then his partner said, too good a shot. Paquette was protected on both sides by the bulldozer. The bullet got him in the heart the split second he stood up for making a welt. The odds against that are in the billions. Well, it's also the odds of it going to the telephone wire perfectly afterwards, too.
The amount of things that lined up post the shot are even crazier. So who fucking knows?
It's fucking ridiculous. So 1991, Rena. They reopen the case of Rena. They exhume her body after 27 years. They exhume her fucking body. They exhume, check again, and now they update the cause of death to undetermined.
Why is that?
They found things that were inconsistent with the original report. Like they were just sloppy and trying to swish it under the rug because they didn't want to blame a 15-year-old or say they didn't know what they were doing.
Or worse, have to fucking solve this thing that's really hard.
Yep. The medical examiner currently, well, not currently, but in 91, said that the homicide was certainly a possibility. Then David Lord, a retired Manchester police officer who was in the investigation of the Rena Paquette death, was quoted in the newspaper, told the fucking newspaper this, doesn't say in a coffee shop, in 1991, that the detectives had not believed that she committed suicide and that all of him and the other officers had been ordered to, quote, forget their suspicions of murder by the Attorney General and their supervising officers.
Your fucking mouth.
Fucking A. Holy shit. Wow. Now, by the way, every year that goes by that Danny's death isn't solved, Victor calls Police Sergeant Roland Lammy every November, and he says, "What are you doing to solve my brother's murder?" And he says it's the same thing every year. He says, "I assure you, Victor, we haven't forgotten about your brother's case. We'll investigate any new leads when they come available." And then Victor says, "Fuck you," and hangs up every year.
I like Victor. I really do.
He's a fun character anyway. I don't know if I want to hang out with him, but he's definitely a fun guy in this story.
Gruff New England. I dig him, except for that
gruff New England biker.
Yeah, except for that stupid Patriots hat he has on. I like him.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, he's like, well, I mean, Belichick's the best. Don't get me wrong. So 1992. Yeah. The Paquettes appear on a local daytime talk show hosted by Kathy Burnham, who is a former Miss New Hampshire. Jesus Christ, that sounds bleak. That sounds like Vermont a couple weeks ago on the Express with that public access. So during this show, they restated that the Rena's unsolved death, they basically thought it was tied to Danny's shooting. Now they think her death is tied to his shooting somehow in the same way. The only thing that Maybe. They said the family, though, didn't come across very well, and but within a week, they got 2 anonymous letters, the police officers, after this aired. 2 anonymous, a phone call, and 2 unsigned letters, okay? One postcard was filled one side from top to bottom with the words from on a typewriter, with the exception of a faint trace of red throughout all the letters from a 2-tone ribbon. It was everything was perfect. So they have all the evidence. This is the card. Quote, "It is common knowledge in Hopkinton that a young man named Eric Windhurst," remember his name?
Yeah.
Melanie's friend, shot Paquette with his father's .270 rifle to avenge abuse to Paquette's daughter, a friend of Windhurst. Windhurst arranged an alibi from the Quinn boy. Eric Windhurst's brother, Scott, told Mr. Windhurst, so he's aware of what happened. I am dumbfounded as to why this case is still unsolved. It's a bad example to the many young people who know the facts about the murder. They look at it as a justified murder because of the alleged abuse. This is not healthy. Windhurst has a long history of shady dealings in this village, including check forgery. Nonetheless, he's misled the police very successfully. He's obsessed with guns and is a crackerjack shooter. It is said that he keeps his friend's mum on his dealings through charm, through intimidation, and through threats. I can understand why, can't you? A former neighbor.
Yeah.
Okay, now, second letter was 2 pages long. It was also typewritten, but they said it was filled with misspellings and shitty punctuation, and also the typewriter ribbon was even fucked up. So the tops and bottom of the letters were faded. You know, and it was like it barely had any ink left. So they said that it seemed like the 2 letters were written by different people, or someone went to the great extent to make it look that way. You know what I mean? Yeah. This one said, I'm grateful I was watching Kathy Burnham's show and saw the Paquettes on April 30th. Something had been eating away at me, but I have been afraid to step forward. Seeing the pain the family is suffering persuaded me to do so. The family is wrong to conclude that Danny Paquette's death is connected to his mother's death. Melanie Paquette, Danny's daughter, told me Eric Windhurst, who was going to Hopkinton High School with her, shot and killed her father. She and Eric had talked a lot about how she hated her father because he had sexually abused her. Eric wanted to blow him away. He's an expert marksman. He had gotten away with all kinds of crimes before. Once he and some of his friends had taken some checks from a cabin his father rented out and forged them to buy things. He never got caught. I know she thought Eric was cool at the time, and he was a lot older than she. He was 2 years older. They were a grade apart. She said Eric took his father's .270 rifle. They drove to his father's house in Hooksett, parked on a road near the house, and walked through the woods where they could see the house. She pointed out her father working in the yard. Then Eric told her to go back to the car. He shot him and ran back to the car. I don't know why, but the police questioned Eric about the murder. However, he'd gotten one of his friends who knew about everything to give him an alibi. Eric's father was friends with the police, plus Eric himself is so cool, clean-cut, and charming, nobody would ever expect him to do a thing like that, so they didn't question him again. I hope this information will help you and the family. I know it's incredible to think this happened this way, but it did. I think it will be hard for you to reach Eric because he's been lying low out west since he graduated. May God bless the Paquette family. So...
Wow. So it's got to be like a big hunting rifle, huh? Like a bolt
he went
action.
Something like that. He went out to Colorado.
One shot in the fucking chest? Wow.
From a long way away. Now, they said stray bullets, this is more theories. Mm-hmm. Stray bullets can travel a mile or 2 miles with a fatal velocity. Sure. They said that's possible, but not probable. Now, they also said there are steel panels surrounding the bulldozer's cab. So a fish and game officer said if your victim was standing here, it's unlikely the shot could have come from the left-hand or right-hand side. The opening he was standing in was only 1 foot 10 inches. If he had come on an angle, say 5 degrees to the right or left, the bullet would have been deflected by the bulldozer. Standing here in the open well of the cab between the dashboard and seat, the only way he could have been struck in the chest was straight on, meaning the shot came from due north.
Yep.
That's fucking good police work. Then they took... This is awesome because now they have GPS and shit. They took there's a thing like almost a mile away or a little over a mile away. There is this is why they're talking about. There's a place that's like a pit where people shoot guns and target. Mm-hmm. It's a big target place, and they were wondering if that's where it came from because it's north of there. They're like, fuck, there's people firing off shots like crazy. What if one of them got loose? So they took GPS measurements at the sand pit. That's the shooting range. It's I'm not going to give you all the fucking degrees and everything, but he added the coordinates for the Paquette residence, and then he ran the numbers. The distance between the 2 points was 1 mile and 2,390 feet. That's still within the range of possibility for a projectile to travel that far. But one thing that he has later on that 1985 people don't have is computers and GPS. Mm-hmm. So he overlaid the data with a topographical map and drew a straight line between the 2 points, the way a bullet would go.
Right.
The Paquette house was elevated 307 feet higher than the pit. You wouldn't know this unless you had a computer and shit. So because the sand pit was so much lower, any shot from there would have had to clear so many hills and trees that the bullet would have had to sail far above the house, and the only way they could make it there on a straight line, so it would have been like an arc the other way going down. They said the only way it could come on a straight line and go up through him would be if it traveled more than 1 mile underground and then popped out of a gopher hole into it, which is
impossible.
Not going to happen. So they said that disproves that theory from that direction. It couldn't have been a stray from the sand pit like they had wondered the whole time.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay. Now While re-canvassing this in 2002, 2003, they talked to one of the neighbors and they say, do you remember anything about that day? And they go, I remember seeing a car parked in a suspicious place down there.
Oh?
This cop said, what the fuck? Where is this coming from now?
Yeah.
There's a cutout that had been left behind when a road had been straightened decades earlier. So the turn part was just left off to the side, and it's kind of a place, a dirt cutout where you can sit in your car. They said, like, underage kids go there and drink and finger each other, basically. That's what all it is. So the neighbor said, we'd see people park there at night, but almost never during the day. I told the police officer who came to my house about it. He said it was probably a hunter and didn't write it down. Okay.
The dismissal.
This guy was like, what the fuck? I'd like to strangle whoever that was. So they said there was pages and pages and pages of police reports about cars parked alongside fucking roads, but no mention of any cars on this dirt cutout anywhere. The hundreds of fucking cars that were there. No, they didn't write that down. Nor was there any mention from the original investigators if they had interviewed this neighbor either. Wow. So they just talked to her and they were like, it's just hunters, and didn't even note it, for Christ's sake. Lazy.
Dismiss.
Lazy, shit, small town. That's just shit police work. It's just not even police. It's just a lazy person who's not good at their job. Yeah. So they said if someone had stood on the back edge of the property line and fired at Danny, it would be conceivable they would have parked at that cutout to get to that vantage point. They said, do you remember anything about the car? A plate, a color, a model, anything? She said, all I remember about it, and you expect to be it was a big car. She said, all I remember about it was a dark-colored Volkswagen, maybe blue or black, which is great. That's way more than you could have prayed for.
Not bad.
They were like, awesome. So then they looked up everybody they've talked to. Does anybody in this entire suspect pool of hundreds of people we've talked to drive a dark-colored fucking Volkswagen? Mm-hmm. One does, and it's Eric Windhurst.
Ah!
He's the only guy.
The other point is, if the cop when she said a car was down there, you have to ask what kind of car. Because if it's a hunter, they're not driving a fucking Volkswagen.
They're not driving a Volkswagen Golf out there or a Beetle or some shit. No, it's probably a truck.
Yes. I'm not trying to take a fucking buck home on the top of my Volkswagen.
Yeah, that's going to be a college kid from in town or something like that in a Volkswagen. So anyway, they talked to more people, and now they're talking to people about Eric. And they said, hey, everybody's saying he hasn't been around town much since he's been divorced because he had moved away and came back. And but this friend described how Eric would make his own ammunition by hand, reloading the spent shells with gunpowder and using a press to attach the bullet. Yeah. They said that he made, they did it very well. They said, well, what did he shoot with? He said, Eric owned a Model 77 Ruger. It was a .270 caliber.
Oh, Jesus.
Said, how do you know he had a Model 77? And the guy said, I saw him with it. It was a birthday present from his father, I think. His father owned a .272. He said he remembered his father's weapon. It was a Winchester Model 70 that had been test-fired by the crime lab and ruled out as the rifle. But they didn't know that Eric had one of his own.
Yeah.
They didn't know he had one of his own. So, yeah, that was it. 2004, they're like, fuck, what are we going to do? They go over the whole thing. They're like, well, Eric and Melanie had an alibi for that day. They said they went to a field hockey game, so they talked to everybody who could have possibly been at the field hockey game, especially the people who backed up his alibi. At this point, though, no one remembers seeing him there.
Uh-oh.
And he said Eric Windhurst was the most popular kid in school. He was active in sports. He mingled easily with all the cliques. If he was at the field hockey game, people would have noticed him. They know him. Yeah. Then they also asked his friend, was he a good shot? And the kid said, probably the best in town. He always got the biggest buck.
Probably the best I've ever seen.
They said, was he talented enough to hit a small target with precision from a long distance? Could he do it from 300 yards or more? And the guy said, yes, he could do that. I've seen him hit small game on the fly. He was amazing. I don't even ever remember him missing. Eric was a hell of a shot.
Wow.
So they're like, fuck. All right. Well, they have to they're going to start with, let's talk to Melanie and see if we can get Melanie to tell on him, basically. Yeah. So they have to track Melanie down. Melanie is now Melanie Cooper.
Oh.
And she is now in Boise, Idaho, and she's a Mormon with 5 kids.
Stop it.
She's a Mormon with 5 children now who lives in Boise, Idaho, and is very active in the church and all this type of shit.
Repenting, maybe?
So just getting away from this craziness. I mean, her whole childhood was awful.
Nuts, yeah.
So they ring her doorbell, and she's like, oh, fuck. Interesting. She apparently had failed out of school. She was partying. She was drinking. She was doing a lot. And then she ended up meeting David Cooper. Her friend was a Mormon and offered her to come to Utah and live with her and try to clean herself up. So she moved out there. She meets David Cooper, who's a BYU student, and they end up getting married, and they end up having a shitload of kids and all that sort of thing. So they're doing great out there. Melanie here, they talked to her, and she's like, oh, I told you I was at the field hockey game. She said at one point, I don't really remember a lot about that portion of my life. I've tried to block a lot of it out because of the abuse. I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to focus on what you were asking. So she asked if you could write them down. So they wrote her a series of questions, and she answered them in writing, like through the mail in writing, right?
Pen pal shit.
Then they go, great. No, that's awesome. We're really happy you did that. Super cool. They said, we have all your statements, and now all we have to do is leave is just verify them on the polygraph. So cool. Yeah, that's cool, right? Voluntary. And she said, I mean, I don't know. I'm just curious all of a sudden. I haven't heard about this in so long, and then all of a sudden, here it is. I mean, you don't call to get an appointment first. You just show up.
An appointment.
An appointment. They said, that's the way we do business. We go and physically knock on doors. If you still lived in Hopkinton, it would have been a lot easier to do. Yeah. You would have seen us way sooner. We had to fly out here, for fuck's sake.
Get on the goddamn plane.
So she said, how does it work? And they said, well, we're going to verify exactly what you told us. And then we're on a plane and out of your hair. Don't worry about it, just as long as it comes back. She said, are they pretty accurate? And he goes, very accurate, actually. She said, do you have a machine or something? And they go, yeah, the other man who's with us, he'll set it all up.
Yeah,
and she said, it's not like shots, right? And they said, no, God, no. It's like she was getting a shot, like a truth serum. And she said, it's not a truth serum. And they said, no, we're going to monitor your, what the fuck? No, not at all.
Talking about a truth serum. That doesn't exist, lady. Sit down.
She said she saw on a TV show something about a truth serum. And they were like, yeah, that's not what this is. So she ends up fucking, I mean, they asked her, did you ever want your dad dead? And she said, yeah. Or they asked her at the time. She tried to hold it out, okay? She tried to hold up, and then eventually, though, she couldn't dance around the questions anymore. Yeah. And she finally said, okay, fine, I'll tell you everything. Here's what happened. Eric did it. I thought he was joking. We were driving there, and he said, anything you say, I'll just turn around. I can leave. We can stop at any time you want. And, she said that he was the one to bring it up. She said that he asked her, do you want your dad dead? And she said, yeah, I want him dead. And Eric said, well, I've got connections. Do you really want him dead? And Melanie thought Eric was kidding. It seemed like something in a movie to her. She thought that was silly. So he said, I'm going to kill him. And she said, okay, then I'm going with you then if you're going to do it. She thought he was joking. So he said, no, you're not. And she said, yes, I am. And he said, I'm not taking a girl with me on a murder.
He's got some sense around here.
Then she says, you don't even know where the house is. And he goes, I can find it. And he goes, then she says, you don't even know who to shoot. And then he went, all right, I'll come get you. You're right. I do need you. I do need to bring a girl with me because I don't know anything of what I'm doing. I have a gun and nothing else. I don't know where I'm going or who I'm shooting.
I'll murder someone. Look I got a gun. Yeah, but
I can do it.
You got
Jerk.
a good point. Get in the car.
All right, fine. So they stopped for gas ahead of time because he didn't want to run out of gas taking off afterwards. Yeah. That would be bad. So the attendant came to the window. It's a, full service. Yeah. Eric asked for $5 on this pump over here. Yeah. As the guy pumped the gas, he noticed there's a rifle on the back seat in the car.
Yeah.
But the guy said, going hunting? All happy. Yeah. And Eric nodded and said, Eric nodded and the guy said, well, it's the first day of hunting season. Good day for that.
Yeah.
Like, that's what everybody who's been stopping for gas has. So
well,
no
you got
problem
a gun
there.
What are you doing? Hunting? Probably, you dummy.
You think, stupid? Well, murdering, either one.
Either way, it's hunting.
Yeah, either way, it's none of your fucking business, basically. So they drove around. They they finally passed it. Melanie pointed it out and said, that's the house I grew up in. Eric drove past the house. The house was on the main road, and it was busier than he thought it was going to be. Yeah. He said, where can we park? And she said, I know there's over there. I know a path in the woods that goes to the backside because she lived there. So he parked on that muddy cutout, just like that lady said, and he turned the car off, and they were sitting there and like, are we going to really do this? And he made the first move. He got out. He got in the back seat, got his rifle, fucking reached into his pocket and pulled out a pack of gum. Gave her a stick of Trident.
Yeah.
It's a murder gum, you know.
There you go.
There you go. I wonder if when you're shooting someone like that, it's like if when you're pitching, you want to keep your mouth off of moving so you keep your brain off of what you're doing.
Juicy fruit, right?
It's Trident. I know it's Trident.
Oh, really? It was Trident.
It was Trident. I know for a fact it was Trident. It's in the book. Yeah.
He chews gum like a 45-year-old man.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want it to get stuck to my bridge.
Yeah, who chews that at 16?
He offered Melanie a stick, and they ate the gum, and they were, walking around, and he's carrying the rifle, and that's that. They walk over there. They go into the brushes. He held his rifle in front of him, and fucking pow, one shot. Said he calmed down, got his breathing ready. One shot, got him, saw what happened, and he said, run! So Melanie took off up the path. They ran. Melanie yelled, what happened? He said, keep running. She said, what happened? Is Danny chasing us?
What do you think?
No, I have a gun. We wouldn't be running if he was chasing us. And he just said, faster, shut the fuck up. So they ran faster and harder. They ran all the way. They get all the way to the car, right where they left it, thankfully. He throws the gun in there, covers it with the blanket. They fucking drive away calmly like nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
Eric then tells everyone he's ever met that this happened.
Wow.
Eric told everyone in school, all of his friends.
They all knew.
He told Trapper. He told his parents.
Yeah.
He told all of his friends.
Yeah.
Everyone who knows Eric for 20 years knew that he shot this guy.
Stunning.
Nobody cared, and everybody thought it was justified. So they were all like, fuck, nobody would turn him in because they were like, fuck it. Yeah. He deserved to die, that fucking guy. So he told his friend, he was hanging out with his friend at one point back then, and he said, I killed him. And the guy said, huh? And he goes, I killed him. I killed Melanie's stepfather. And he said, what the fuck are you talking about? He goes, I shot him. I shot him right in the head. Then I dragged his body downstairs and dumped it behind a wood pile in his house, which he didn't do. Right. But that's what he told him. He said he was trying to be a little cooler than he actually was.
And then I grabbed a hold of the body that I just made.
Yeah, which is none of that shit. So Eric, his whole life, this is crazy. Eric, he was in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
He was a star athlete in the Marine Corps, good marksman. Police, they said, they asked Melanie, who did you tell about the shooting? And she said, my husband knows. The only person I told at the time was the nanny who lived with us. I forget her name, Wendy. Why would you told your nanny? Nanny and husband. And they said, did you tell your aunt? And Melanie said, no, I knew she could lose her job over it, the murder prosecutor.
Right.
So that was nice of her not to tell her. They said, what about her mother? What about your mother? And Melanie said, I had a phone call with her. It was after Danny died. I called her and asked her if she was happy, if we could be a family again. I just kept asking her if she was happy. I never said a word, but she knew. So they asked about Eric. And they said, well, when's the last time you talked to Eric? And she said, he called me a couple weeks after my wedding in 1990. And she said that, we just had an unspoken bond because I owed him a blood debt, basically, is what it was. Then she said, hey, what are the chances that I'll go to jail? And they went, probably pretty good, probably. Yeah. They said,
are you a betting lady?
Yeah. What are we talking? Odds here? 5-2. How's that? I don't know. He said, Melanie, I don't get that sense, but I don't know for sure. I can't make you any promises. What I need you to do is talk to the prosecutor. And then she got some Tylenol because she had a headache after that. So part of her deal is she's going to call Eric on the phone with all the cops around and record it. So
that's all they got.
That's it. So she calls him and says, I got a situation out here and I need to talk to you. Yeah. She tells him the cops came and, they're hot on my tail about Danny's death.
Sure. Yeah, they know some shit.
And he said, should we be talking on the phone? And Melanie said, it's okay. I'm not at home. I'm calling from my neighbor's house. So Eric said that his cell phone was out in his truck, gave her the cell phone number, and then immediately all the cops wrote that down. and told her to call back on that number. So when it came in, she calls him, and he answers the phone and said, I just told them I didn't have anything to do with it.
Hold on.
And
this man went from a landline to
a cell phone. Yeah. Which isn't tapped at all.
Hey, listen, should we be talking on the phone? This seems way too safe. I need to get on my cell phone.
Let me get on my cell phone where they can just like literally hang out in a car with a fucking radio thing and pick it up. Just make it a lot easier. Otherwise, they'd need like a wire tap and it'd be much harder to do. Let's just gotta pick it up out of the sky.
Yeah, I need to get on a phone that might cross lines with another person's phone and they might hear the whole thing that we just say.
Especially in 2005, which is highly possible.
What the fuck is he doing? He heard some shit about phones aren't safe.
Yeah.
He just doesn't know which ones.
He hasn't really paid that much attention to it. Too busy welding. So she said, I don't know what to do. He said, I'd get a lawyer if I were you.
Yeah.
No,
dummy, you.
Yeah, you. So anyway, eventually she said, they're going back and forth. She's trying to get him to say something. Yeah. And she said, did you ever, Melanie said, what do I tell him if I got a lawyer? Yeah. And Danny says, tell the lawyer whatever you want to tell him. And she said, do I tell him the truth? And Danny said, well, I told my lawyer exactly what happened, and that was, that's that. And she said, you told your lawyer what happened with Danny? And he said, yeah. Because it's his lawyer. Yeah. She's not allowed to tell on him. And she said, the whole thing? I'm not clear on what you said to your lawyer. And he said, it doesn't matter what I told my lawyer.
No, it does. I need you to say worse.
He said, yeah, please. He said, Melanie, frankly, I'm not real comfortable talking on the phone about much of this. And she said, I know. Unless you want me to jump on a plane and fly out there and I can talk to you in person. Well, that'd be super easy. Yeah, they would just have the cops hide in the closet. That'd be much easier. So Melanie looked over at the state troopers like, what the fuck do I do? And then Eric said, for crying out loud, you could be surrounded by 5 cops right now and you could be in a police station as we're talking, which is exactly what she was doing with 3 cops. So anyway, all of this, she ends up incriminating him and they arrest him and he gives it up pretty quick. I mean, he's like, he has a carpentry business and he's got a house in Contoocook. He got married in 1996. He
Colorado?
Said, No, he had lived there, but now he lives back in New Hampshire. He said, I've lived in town for 20 years until they arrested me. That's it. He's like, I've just been there. We're having a family. Yeah. One of the guys that knew him said, quote, in his family said, it was the family secret that everybody knew. Everybody knew, but nobody talked. It's fucking wild. They asked him, well, why'd you do it? He said, it was really about what he's got. A friend of his has a theory here. They said that his father, basically, he just learned that his own father was sexually abusing his sisters at that time.
So he's
This was in 85. He learned that his father had sexually abused his sisters. Do you think maybe he would kill his mother because she didn't protect them? Do you think maybe that happened, possibly? Maybe. I'm just saying. Yeah. I'm not, anyway. Oh, no, this is about him. I'm sorry.
Eric.
Holy shit. This is about Eric, not about Danny.
Eric became the fucking pedophile Batman.
Eric found out his father was molesting his sisters, so that's what it was. So his friend says about it, one sister confirmed it to the authorities, but too much time had passed to prosecute his father. It was out of statute of limitations. So the friend said it was really about what his own father had done to his sisters. That's what they said. He was getting revenge for that. So Melanie is also charged here as well. She pleads guilty to felony hindering apprehension. And she is she's sentenced originally to 3 to 6 years in prison, I believe, here. And then that gets reduced to 15 months in prison for Melanie. So, but it's weird because she's like upstanding Mormon mother of 5, and now she's going to prison in Rhode Island. It's just a very weird, not expected. So, I would, dude, that's the thing. If she went over there and stabbed him right in the eyeball 100 times, I'd be like, great, let her go. Who cares? She owed him that, basically. But this, you can't have somebody do it.
Yeah. And the thing, when you're in a house where that shit's happening, that thought enters your mind every single day. But you cannot. You're frozen. You will never be able to. You're never going to do anything that is acting out in defense until it's something that puts you in prison, and that's really fucked too, because it's very difficult to deal with. the mind control and the emotions. I feel bad for anybody in that situation ever.
Fucking it's horrific. It's really the most horrific thing possible, because when you're a child, you can do nothing about anything. And you have no agency. So.
It's not just the actual the torture and the humiliation and everything that's happening. It's also you have no way to stop this. It's so horrible.
No shit. It's really fucking bad. So his family, Danny Paquette's family, they don't believe it. They're like, listen, they said that everybody knew about this in town apparently, and the cops probably knew too, and so they think they've been letting this guy go. The Paquette family says, my family and I have been given pretty good reason to distrust the New Hampshire justice system, which I can't say that they're wrong. For them. For them, I would be like, fucking, they don't arrest anybody who kills our family. A year after his death, the family still had no idea who killed him, all that shit. So 2006, Eric goes to court and pleads guilty to second-degree murder. Okay. He pleaded guilty there. He is sentenced to, you, sir, may fuck off, 15 to 36 years in prison.
That's heavy.
That's a lot for a 20-year-old murder you did when you were a kid to protect a girl who was molested, and is, by the way, you killed the worst guy in town.
Right.
According to everybody. I don't know.
You killed the monster of Hooksett, and you're going to jail for up to 36? Jesus.
Apparently, he's very popular in prison. Everybody wants to visit him. People no one's like, reeling away from him or anything. They like him. He said, I'm the only one in here with a waiting list of people wanting to get in and see me. He's a little arrogant about it. He said he had to kick his old dentist off the list to get the reporter in there. They asked him the details of the day and of what happened in the murder, and he said, let's not reopen old wounds. And they were like, what the fuck? And then he finally said, okay. They asked why, and he said, I've had plenty of people, very prominent people, say to me they would have done the same thing. That's what he said. He says that he gets letters every day that call him a hero from people in town.
Wow.
They say, fuck that guy. He fucked my daughter. He killed my, he did this to this one. October 2020, Eric is up for parole here. He's been in jail for, 15 years or so on second-degree murder. The Victor comes to the hearings. Victor's still around.
Really?
And he's coming to the hearings. He showed Eric a picture of the man he killed, which is Danny, and he said, is this the face you saw through the sight on your gun? He's fucking with him. Yeah. He said, if you think this parole board think for a minute that this bill is paid and justice was served, hell no, Victor says. There's one place for you, and that's back in prison. So the official said he's been a model prisoner. He's done nothing wrong. Yeah. He didn't do anything before that for years. All of his friends that he told about the murder, they said, does he do any other crimes? And they all said he did some shit in high school, like he stole checks and stuff. But as an adult, I don't think he ever did anything wrong. So they're like, has no record, model prisoner, clearly not the same person he was as a teenager. So he says, I live with it every day. They have to live with it every day. I'm so desperately sorry for what I've done, and it's the weakest way to say you're sorry after doing what I've done, but it's the only words we have. And so Victor was yelling at him. Victor, when he said, does this look familiar, Eric even said, yes, sir, to him. So, I mean, he even...
yes, sir, I've seen that guy.
He even, did. The prosecutors say they also strongly oppose his release. They said it was considered premeditated and targeted murder of a complete stranger in the ultimate act of vigilantism. That's the senior assistant attorney general. Yeah. Eric truly acted as Danny's judge, jury, and executioner. So the parole board chair said to the family, I know you have concerns about the justice system, but we at the parole board can only do what our job is. The job of the parole board is not to be a resentencing body, and they grant him parole.
How about that?
He's released.
He said what he did. He even owned up to it in the parole.
Yeah, he did. No, he said he was totally on the level in the parole.
I did it, and I feel like I paid my penance.
It sucks, and I'm looking the family in the eye, and I'm taking their shit that they give me, and I deserve it, and that's you can't do anything more than that.
Scary New England biker telling me smart-ass things, and I'm just saying, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Yeah, they said they're going to release him December 8th, 2020. He's going to be released to his mother's house, and she's 83 years old, and he's going to... He's going to take care of her, and he's going to continue to work a maintenance job that he obtained on work release as well. The family, very pissed off. They said that They made him look all nice. The one family member said, like he just stepped out of a fashion boutique and headed for choir practice. So that, everybody, they're pissed, is Hooksett, New Hampshire. And that's just one of those messy, that's one of those we say, you never make fun of the victims of the family. I mean, you try not to, but when sometimes it's not there's victims, there's a gray area in the thing.
That one's a cloudy as fuck one, man.
It's all cloudy.
It's all cloudy. Seattle day.
And I still think he may possibly, in my opinion, have killed his mother also, this fucking Danny Paquette. From everything he did, what would put that past him?
Nothing.
Like, I can't think of anything, so I don't know. Either way, if you like the show, tell the world about it. Get on whatever app you're listening on, and please give us a review. It really does help drive us up the charts a lot. Give us 5 stars. Also, follow us on social media. We're at Murder Small on Twitter, at Smalltown Pod on Facebook, and at Smalltown Murder on Instagram. You can also head over to shutupandgivememurder.com. Merchandise coming out of your ass. You wouldn't believe it, like a fucking faucet. So much merchandise, everything from skateboards to coffee cups to bath mats, you name it, it's there. You can get a "You Sir May Fuck Off" shower curtain. Who doesn't want that? Get it all. Or a onesie for your baby also that says, "Cheer up, bitch." Who doesn't want to be told to cheer up, bitch, by a toddler? It's perfect. Get all that. Most importantly, get your tickets to live shows. We are going to be everywhere. We're going to be September 10th at the Pabst in Milwaukee. Yeah. It's going to be our biggest show. People have had a goddamn hashtag going on, Sell Out the Pabst. Thank you guys so much for doing that. It's almost done, too. Almost sold out. Let's get there. Let's pack this beautiful theater and have an awesome show, have our best show ever. And then as well, we're going to be in September, we're going to be in Florida. 2 shows in one night at the Tampa Improv. Right. Next night, 2 shows at the Orlando Improv. Get your tickets to those and, do all of that shit. Get your tickets, goddammit. Come see us.
Where else can they see us, James? Or hear us, maybe?
On Patreon. Patreon.com/crime and sports would be the place where you can hear that. Anybody $5 or above, you are going to get access to every damn thing we put out, everybody. You name it, crime and sports bonus, small town murder bonus. Every other week, as a matter of fact, you're going to get 2 new bonus episodes. You get at least 4 a month. For the low price of $5 or more. Can't beat that. Less than coffee, and we're better than a cup of coffee on Patreon. I promise you. I promise you right now, this week, what you're going to get for your money, first of all, we are going to talk about, for crime and sports, we're going to talk about Brett Favre and his dick pic scandal.
Yeah.
Just because his little freckled pecker is hilarious to me, sending that around to people. Like, I'm going to send this to people. That's just funny. And then also a couple of other athletic sports scandals, especially one where allegedly, a lady golfer forced her caddy into impregnating her against his will or some shit. Like, they told her his job was on the line for it if he didn't knock her up. It's a crazy story.
Blackmail rape? Jesus.
It's wild. A couple of those. And then finally, for small town murder, we are going to talk about Leonard Lake and Charles Eng, 2 of the worst people ever. Yeah. Especially Leonard Lake. He was Eng would have done all that stuff. He just didn't have as much of a chance to do it as Lake. And
he needed Lake to really be the catalyst, really light that fire.
Yeah, he didn't have the social skills to pull these people in his little orbit. So either way, the California's just approved the execution of Charles Eng finally. So we'll hear about some shit in their own words and some very kind of stuff like that, stuff they said. Gross. It's creepy shit and gross shit. Get in there. Patreon.com/crime and sports. And you'll also get a shout out in a minute. And you can also get a shout out very easily by heading over to PayPal using our email address, crimeandsports@gmail.com. That said, Jimmy, hit me with the names of the most wonderful fucking people in the world who support this show, keep it running, and are our favorites. Hit me with them now.
This week's executive producers are Jordan Bennett, Frank the South African Birdwasher, Donnie Keene, Eric Hankamer, I believe, Molly Volatile. Molly, also go back and look at that and make sure that's the right thing you want to do. That seems outrageous. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Make
everybody.
sure that you're doing that correct.
Yeah.
Tom Blackwood
and I don't want to be mean.
I don't want to ruin any. That's insane. Tom Blackwood, Andy Tonioli, Kathy Kaminsky, and Lucy Holland traveled all the way from Perth, Australia to see the San Francisco show.
Holy shit.
Happy birthday, Lucy.
Damn.
It was her 30th birthday. And
wow.
Her husband, partner, somebody brought her all the way from Australia to another country.
Your drinks are on us in San Francisco.
every time.
Yeah, definitely at the show. You're whatever you have that night's on us. Dead serious too. I'm not even kidding. That's happening.
Florence Cullerton, Rabbi Shmulevich, and Shitta Perlman. This is other producers. P.S. Happy Hour in Joplin, Missouri. Checking in. Adele Doe, I think. Duff, maybe. I don't. Jason Yuri, I think. I forget why he wanted me to say Adele. I forget. It may be her birthday. It may not be. I don't know.
Something about Adele. I don't fucking know. By the way, I think
nice to have you, Adele.
That's our new thing, I think, now. If you come from another country specifically to see our show, we got you covered. Your drinks are on us. Your food's on us. We got you covered.
I'll sleep in a trash can if I have to do it.
That's fair, I think.
You deserve to be fucked up if you travel that far.
Absolutely.
Janice Hill, Amy Coleman, congrats on your good divorce. That's fantastic. Little Latin Lupe Lou, I think, I may be wrong, but I think that's a porn star.
Okay.
Joe Settle in Portugal, Yang Kong Vang, I believe. SG, Julia McLaren, Steve Bockler, Anna Jellick, Beverly Stubbs, Tim Riddle, Zach Hernandez, David Proshaka, Richard Stone, Sarah Jane, Jacob Drosler, Punky Leonard, Chris Swihura, Devin Galloway, Ethan with no last name, Kelly Marie, William no last name, Lauren Birch, Jen Breen, Boy Kwani, I think, Jennifer Pitts, Jennifer Kuhn, Sarah T, Riley Mara, Harrison Graham, Tony Patrick, Jody with no last name, Will Thomas, Leona Soy, Desiree Hernandez, Steve Brown, Shrada Lal, I think, Jamie Serecchio, Brian Masella, Michael Canavy, Kendra Sullivan, Barbara Atkins, Mr. Richard Smoker. I don't know what he's trying to say.
Yeah, you know what he's saying.
Yeah.
You get what he's saying, I think, Jimmy.
Could be a real name. Who knows? Patrizio Argento, Haley Tebby, Teeb, Malcolm Simpson, Tavoli, Barry Young, what? Sandy Heltzel, Philip Berryhill, Pauline Strong.
Jimmy's like he just got here from another planet.
I question every single one of these.
I know. That's true. You do have to be suspicious. They're trying to make you say dumb shit, so that's a good point.
Dylan Powell, what does that mean? Are you trying to tell me I suck cocks? Is that what that is?
Who's that? Does that mean I suck? Does that mean, what is that, a reference to the Goonies? What's happening? What am I missing?
Pauline Strong, I think I said that. Oracle of Oz, Carolyn Benton, Stephanie Smith, KJ, Chris Krupka, Samantha Schlossberg, Lindsay Collette, Rebecca Pettit, John with no last name, Andy Nichols, Stephanie Schmalajodovan. Schmalajodovan?
Okay.
Schmally. What? Schmal. It's never going to happen is what that is.
His tongue and lips aren't going to make that sound work. I'm sorry.
Whatever those letters mean, that's her last name.
He would like to say it, and he's thankful, though.
Jack Murphy, Craig Cooper, Ellen the Red Dragon, Rachel with no last name, Tom Callahan, Big Tom Callahan.
Hey, Big Tom.
Matthias Long, Nate Robinson, probably not, but another one. That's Daniel Beatty, Katrina Stratton, John E. Blair, Travis Loria, Jeff McNaught, T. Dolan, Chris Spall, Carla Walsh, Jeff the Bucket of Wriglin Peckers Heavener.
Of course. Got to have that. Goes without saying.
Why the hell not?
Why not?
Gabby Kimes, Trevor Gaylert, Madison Vaught, Will Rockwell, Jenna Pintano, Jasper Goodfriend, Chris Scarmazzi, I don't know what it is.
Your face
Chris
on that
the Italian Scar. Benita Somnach.
You look so mad at yourself on that one. It's not your fault,
It's not going to happen.
It's not your fault.
Benita Some Nachos, A Random Package, Stuart Myers, Colin with no last name, Lashana Brown, Avery Webster, I believe, Robert Dauphin maybe, A.H., Dale Mason, Justin Collier, Jared Hart. Happy birthday, Jared. David Martin, Elizabeth Wood, Robert Colatuano. That's never going to happen, Robert. Tyler Combs, Logan Moe, Jason Vickery, Trevor Beller, Sarah Amadoro.
Cracking me up.
Arnador.
Yeah.
Sarah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks,
John Kate, Stacy with no last name, Terrence Kelly, Chip with no last name, Ty Sharp, Meredith Piffle. that's a tough one. Sucky McNuts, All-Inclusive Clothing Company. Sharon Riley, Storm with no last name. Tucker, also no last name. Taylor Gant, Steven Sanders, S. Ice, Justin Killian, Dennis Abernathy, Colton Cieslowski, Taylor S.
Well, I do say Eastern European. I was going to say let's add Polish to the list, but Eastern European and Italian are the
Michael Kubachak,
good.
Tanili Luganbill. Oh, boy. William McDaniel, John Kolick Jr., J. Rum 91, David with no last name, JDR 67, James Villa, Lady Vera, Melody McKenney, Clinton Lewis, Wicked Sled, Danny Oakley, Susan Garwood, Richard Johnson. There's another one.
God,
I don't believe you, Richard. Not a bit.
We don't believe one person named Richard donates to us at all. So if your name's Richard, give us your middle name because we're not going to buy it. We're just not buying it. Sorry.
And Johnson, how dare you?
Yeah, that's not even
never.
true. At least
never
Smoker tried to put it in a. They tried to couch it. If you weren't paying attention, you might have. You know.
Ashley with no last name, Mel with no last name, Laura Skidmore, Chaos with no last name, Nika with no last name. That's a hard K. Child of the Corn, I eat Granny's tuna. No, I don't. Susan Anderson, Victoria Monofusco, Savannah McKenzie, Monica Miner, Gary Crenshaw, Tracy with no last name, Selena Mimranak. Probably not. Amy B 8003. Taylor Lambert, Luce Aldred. I don't believe you. David Schulze, Hunter Menzel. That might be Louise, and my computer corrected that. Or Lewis. There's no way somebody's name is Luce, right? No.
I mean, first name?
It's possible. Yeah.
Luce? I mean, might be a nickname.
Maybe.
I mean, not one that anyone would probably call them to their face, but...
Hunter Menzel, Sarah Lee, probably not. Katie Gardner, Carly Petrillo, Joe Schrader, Frank Armaton, Julie Pollard, Echo with no last name, Aaron Patterson, Caitlin Rotherham, Rebecca Carabalis, Mackenzie Dugan, Luke Young, Remick Albertrito. What? Nicole Lehman, Victoria Shen, Aaron Tarasi, Darcy Bristow, Team Jackson, Charlene Griffin, Robert Patrick, Barbara Flick, Ashley Blackwell, Carolyn Eldridge, Colin Anderson, Billy Eppinger, Sandra Thompson, Dana Boatwright, Samantha Hahn, Susanna Pena, Jen Meents, Lori, Lonnie. That's Lonnie. Lonnie Rainbow, Jeff Bridging the Gaps, Anna Krista, Nick Butler, Chris McCombie, Allison Morby, Daniel Reed, Daniel Parker, Nicole Reinhardt, Jessica Harley, maybe, Zachary Norman, Garrett Lambert, Kat Holder, Lydia with no last name, Stacy Thomas, Kira Lyles, Lauren Halbert, Kimberly Brown, Brittany Coffey, Noah Escalante, Aiden Poling, Megan Ellen, all of our patrons. You guys are amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We honestly cannot thank you enough for all that you do for us. You've changed our lives, and we're just appreciative for it so much. And if you want to find us on social media, very easy to do that. You can just head over to shutupandgivememurder.com, and there's links to all that stuff. Or just Google search Small Town Murder Podcast hosts, because we're the only fucking two of them out there.
That's right.
That said, I think it's time. It's time to go. Yeah. It's been a wild story. So until next week, everybody, it's been our pleasure.
Bye.
If you like Small Town Murder, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
Have you ever gotten a message out of the blue? Maybe you ignore them. Or maybe you end up in conversation. Maybe they tell you about an amazing offer. I can really show you how to make some money. And maybe that gets you into a lot of trouble. But this isn't a story about people like you, the people receiving these messages. This is a story about the people behind the messages, on the other end of the line. Thousands of them, working in a microcity built for scammers. From Wondery, the makers of Dr. Death and Kill List, comes Scam Factory, a new series about survival at the expense of others. Follow Scam Factory on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Scam Factory early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.